one of the countries with the most poor in the world. As if that was not bad enough, as at last year or the year before, we became the country that is regarded as the poverty capital of the world. That means more people in Nigeria were under poverty than any other place in the world. For some of us sitting here this morning, that sounds like an aberration. That doesn't sound like the Nigeria that you know. But the good thing is that the people who come up with this data are not sentimental. They have facts and figures. And when you step out of your air-conditioned office, your air-conditioned vehicle, and you walk on the street, and you have interaction with the common man in quotes, then you would see and understand that there are lots of families in our country, in our environment, who don't know whether they are going to have a meal a day. There are lots of people who are homeless. There are lots of people who are despondent. There are lots of people, there are families that have lost loved ones just because they couldn't afford 1,000 naira, 2,000 naira, 5,000 naira to buy medicine. These are all indices of poverty. These are all indices of hunger. And when you take it upwards to begin to look at the impact that this has on our environment, you would then see the direct correlation between the level of income of families and homes, the incidence of poverty, and of course the incidence of insecurity in our country. Several years ago, there were people who had passion and hobby to just travel around, and you could just travel around from Calabar to Kano and drive around the whole country enjoying the scenery. Today, if you want to undertake on such a journey, I'm sure your family members will beg you not to do that because of the level of insecurity. And you cannot remove poverty from insecurity, because when people are hungry, then they are exposed to a lot of vices just to try to meet those needs. And so we at Church of God Mission, Garden City, felt there was a need for us to respond to this gaping need in our society where a lot of people have lost hope. You speak to some people and you hear suicidal thoughts and intents just because things are tough. We decided to begin to find a way to solve some of these questions. Some people have asked me as a church, why aren't we doing crusades to get people saved? Why are we talking about business? Why are we talking about money? And my direct answer to that was, after a man gets saved and he's not going to heaven immediately, you need to sustain him here on earth. And we can't feed everybody, no matter how well-intentioned we are. And so we decided to hop onto the English idiom that says that when you feed a man, when you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. But when you teach him to fish, you feed him for life. So we decided to create this platform where people can network together, get information, have access to, in some cases, you're going to have buyers and sellers meeting together. So it's like a marketplace. And the reason is so that we can empower people, create those opportunities for business transactions to take place that will invariably increase the earnings power and ability of the families that are here represented. That's why I said to you at the beginning that I'm certain that after this conference, some people will start new businesses. After this conference, some people will find investors into their existing businesses. After this conference, some people will enlarge their business coast. After this conference, some people will find new vendors for their businesses, because this is a networking platform. So here today, we have real estate realtors. We have people who are selling land. We have people who have estates planned out and are looking for off-takers. We have people who supply building materials. We have estate agents. We have people who market property. We have people who are regulators. We have people who are in various lines, the value chain of real estate in Nigeria at this conference today. Some people have also asked me, why real estate? Why real estate? Why are we interested in real estate? Now, if you take a ride on the Lekki Peninsula corridor, you will agree with me without any sense of doubt that real estate is the biggest business on this axis. On this axis alone, informal reports say we have over 3,000 estates, and many more are coming up. I was opportune to pass through Ekwe 2 days ago, and you can see that almost everywhere is being taken up by new estates that are coming up. This is a representation of the speed at which development is coming to this axis in Lagos. And of course, in case you are not aware, the Lekki corridor happens to be the fastest growing real estate hub in the whole of Africa. As a banker, I can also say to you that there are very few investments that you can do today that gives you the returns and the stability that real estate will present to you. So that's why we are looking at this huge opportunity, so that people can see that you don't need to be a billionaire to play in this sector. I'm very sure by the time you start hearing our speakers today, you will understand what I'm talking about. You don't need to have millions and billions to be able to participate in this sector. There is a huge playing field for everybody. And so our desire as organizers, our hope and expectation is that as people get this information, then of course they take advantage of the opportunities that exist, and from there, their families can earn better incomes, their living standards will improve, the frustration in our land will reduce, and of course unemployment will also reduce, in Jesus' name. And the last question I would like to answer today is who we are. This is Garden City, a branch, the zonal headquarters of Church of God Mission International. I know many times when I say to people Church of God Mission, or CGMI as we call it, it doesn't ring a bell with a lot of people until I mention one name, Archbishop Benson Idahosa. This is that church that Archbishop Benson Idahosa started in 1972 at the ancient city of Benin. And this is our headquarters branch on the Lekki corridor. And so our desire as a church is to impact lives. Our desire is to help families. Our desire is to empower people. So you can really see the correlation between this event today and what we stand for as a church. So once again, I'd like to welcome you. I'd like you to open your hearts. A lot of information would come your way. A little background of how the outlay of how the program is going to run today. We're going to have some speakers. We're opportune to have very sound minds who are playing in the real estate sector already. We're going to have an overview of the entire sector. We're going to have specific issues with regards to how to get financing for your businesses. We're also expecting someone from Lagos State Government. We're expecting the special advisor to the government on housing to be with us to talk about the new Lagos State law on real estate transactions. And then after that, we will have question and answers with the panel. With the speakers, and then of course we'll have another panel where we'll be discussing things on property law, real estate transactions, the legal issues that has to do with it. We'll discuss on mortgage financing as an individual. Can I access mortgage in Nigeria? We have a mortgage bank in the house that would deal with that. And then, of course, there are other investment opportunities that are open to individuals, and we will be also looking at all of those things. So I want you to please relax. The information you're going to get here today will help change your life upwards. It will take you upwards. It will make huge opportunities available for you. Once again, from the organizers, I'd like to welcome you to the Roundtable Lekki. I thank you for being here with us. God bless you.
A round of applause for him again. Thank you very much, sir, for that introduction. Please take note of the following things as we go on. The first speaker is going to come up and give his speech, but please, we're going to take his own question and answer session immediately after his remarks. So please make sure that you are sending your questions online or writing them down and giving them to the protocol team in the hall. If you have questions that you want to send online, you can send them to the links that are on our live stream. On YouTube, we are CGMI Garden City. On Facebook, CGMI Garden City. Instagram, CGMI Garden City. And on Instagram as well, you can go to the Roundtable Lekki. So for the time being, while we get ourselves acquainted with these links and get ourselves acquainted with the live streams, we will have a very powerful music minister come up to give us a special song. She's internationally known. She's nationally and internationally known. And she's one of our own. We love to welcome, please put your hands together for Sarafina.
Good morning, everybody. Can you help me do something? Just look at your neighbor, eyeball to eyeball, and smile. That's good. Okay, so I say smile. Some people are laughing. All right. So do just one more thing. Tell the person, I believe in Nigeria. Okay. I believe in Nigeria. Here we are as a people with one song, with one voice. We're united, undivided and poised. We will take our stand and build this land with faith to defend what is ours. Here we are as a people with one heart, with one voice. We're determined to rebuild and restore. Where freedom reigns and truth prevails for land where there's hope for us all. A land where there's hope for us all. We defend our land. We believe in Nigeria, and we promise get there. We defend our land. We believe in Nigeria, and the promise she holds, and that one day we'll stand like a sun. We're a great nation. I believe in Nigeria. Though we are many people, different tribes, different tongues, we're united in a strength and reason. We're gonna hold the honor of our land for all generations to come. Oh yes, for all generations to come. Help me sing. Let's go. Say, we are all we are. We defend our land. We believe in this nation, and we know we get there. We're all we have. We defend Nigeria, and the promise she holds. And one day, one day, one day, one day, we stand, we stand. Everybody say, we are all we have. We defend the land, we defend this land. We believe in this nation, and we know we get there. We are all we have. We defend our land. We believe in Nigeria and the promise she holds. And one day, one day, one day, one day, one day, we're a great nation. Oh, Nigeria, 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 Nigeria. We believe, we believe, we believe, we believe, yeah. We believe, we believe. Oh, we are all. We believe in Nigeria and the promise she holds. And I believe, as you believe, one day we come out and shine like the sun. We're a great nation.
If you believe in Nigeria, please put your hands together. We believe in Nigeria. Please say, I believe in Nigeria. Come on, say, I believe in Nigeria. Now, one very important thing that we must keep doing today was what the convener announced. This is a networking program. One of the most important things you can get out of this experience today is to meet somebody new. And please take note, the person sitting next to you might be that person that you have been writing to, or you have been sending mails to for the past 1-2 years. That person, you took his name to church, maybe to this altar, and said, no, I must meet this person must remember me. Like what people say, take the name to Shiloh. But anyways, that person might be sitting right next to you. So just take a moment right now, look to the person sitting to your left or right and say, hello, hi, my name is... This is the start. We're going to have a lot of this today, but we just want you to break the chain. You're not, please don't, I don't understand. Is it the AC? Everybody's just composed, you know, you're just, let's just break that mold. Okay, thank you very much. You don't have to start pitching yet. It's not time to pitch. It's not time to pitch. I know real estate people, we are very, very powerful. Before you know it, some people will sell the full banana in this place. Oh my God, wow. Remember, this is the Roundtable Lekki. It's packaged by Church of God Mission International Garden City, and our partners for this 2022 edition are Extreme Mind Solutions, Wuwi Events, P1 Group, Proclaim Media Africa, Above Only Creatives, and Tunioje Photography. While we wait for our first speaker, please take note again that the links are shared online. You can send your questions in. He is going to speak, and then the questions are going to follow immediately after. For the other speakers that we have, they will speak, and they'll be part of the panel. But our first speaker is going to speak, and then the questions follow immediately after. Please make sure you are cued into this, and you're sending your questions immediately you hear the comments from him. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our distinguished first speaker. He is the founder and CEO of Eximia Realty Co. Limited, and he's going to speak on the topic, an overview on the real estate sector in Nigeria, opportunities in Lekki. Please just listen to his full profile, but again, make sure you are cued in with the links so that your questions are ready. Please welcome Mr. Hakeem Oguniran.
Hakeem Oguniran, Chairman, NBCC Construction and Real Estate Group. Hakeem is the founder, CEO of Eximir Realty Company Limited, Home Formerly Nigeria Limited, Mercury Nominees and Investment Limited, and lead promoter of Curious Real Estate Cooperative Society. He was the managing director of UACN Property Development Company PLC, UPDC, from 2010 to 2018. Before then, he was the managing director of MDS Logistics, division of UAC of Nigeria PLC, between 2000 and 2010. Prior to 2000, he was at various times a law lecturer, company secretary, legal advisor, sales marketing manager, corporate planning manager, amongst others. He graduated from the University of Lagos with LLB second-class honors in 1984. He was called to the Nigerian bar in 1985 after passing the bar exams at the Nigerian Law School. Also with the second-class honors upper division, he later obtained a master's degree and MBA degrees from the University of Lagos. He is a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators, London and Nigeria, and the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, UK. A former Fulbright visiting scholar at the Yale Law School, USA, he attended several high-level management training programs, including the Unilever IMS UK General Management Program of Ashridge Management College, UK 2000, Strategic Leadership Program of Cranfield University, UK in 2005, Real Estate Management Program of Harvard Business School in 2010, USA, and Senior Financial Management Program of the London Business School in 2014. In the past 8 years, Mr. Oguniran has changed the narrative of the real estate industry in Nigeria, leading his team to deliver landmark and iconic projects in Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Ibadan, birthing projects in other cities, including Asaba and Calabar. In the area of real estate funding, he led his company to raise over 55 billion naira through bonds, bridging loans, and a DOT-based real estate investment trust. He has also played a major role in driving the African real estate reform agenda, leading sessions at Accra, Johannesburg, Lagos, and London. He is a recipient of many awards, including the Federal Government Scholarship for High Academic Standing 1981 to 1984, Fulbright Scholarship to Yale School, USA, Joint Best Individual Performance in Management Accounting in ICSA Final Examinations, Osun State Government of Nigeria's Merit Award 2007, amongst many others. He was, in 2013, the Real Estate Unite Person of the Year, the Odua Business Ambassador Awards, and he was named one of the top 20 CEOs of the listed companies on the Nigerian Stock Exchange for 2013. The list seems endless. He is happily married to Dr. Iyabode Oguniran, also a lawyer, and they are blessed with 3 lovely children.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, I'm very pleased to be here this morning, and thank you for the invitation. I love real estate. I like discussing real estate. And you're here this morning. I want to tell you that this is the best place to be, because real estate will continue to be probably the most critical asset class, like I always say. The reason is simple. Everything happens on the land. So you build factories on land, you run your business on land. And somebody was, even like we tell the ICT people, that even the cloud lives on the ground. You know, so when they say iCloud, even the cloud lives on the ground inside our data centers. That underscores the significance of real estate. And now you know there's a lot of movement around metaverse. So I hear somebody's about to build a metaverse church in Nigeria. There's a metaverse, there's a metaverse city now, you know. But I always remind them that if you run your business in metaverse, or you do your church service in metaverse, you will still return to a physical home to go and stay. You know, you cannot go and sleep in metaverse. You have to go to a physical home. That underscores the significance of real estate. I don't know how this works now. So who's going to help me? I'm supposed to speak on overview of real estate sector in Nigeria, opportunities in the Lekki Peninsula. And I like to just stress the fact that I like the fact that now we're looking at real estate clusters in Lagos, because there are about 12 distinct real estate clusters in Lagos, and the dynamics of each cluster is different from the other. So if you want to understand where you really want to play, you have to pay particular attention to that cluster. Of course, you can play across several clusters. You know, last week we were speaking about Lagos Island. I was privileged to be on a panel speaking on Lagos Island, how to regenerate Lagos Island. You know, but today we're speaking about Lekki corridor. So for this presentation, what I've done, what do I do now? I need somebody to help me now to go to the next slide. Okay, good. So I know I have just 40 minutes, you know, and I would just like to focus on critical aspects of the presentation. Of course, I'll look at my opening thoughts. Well, it's always important to look at the nexus between real estate and the economy, and how real estate drives economic development. So I'll look at that. I'll look briefly at economic and real estate indices, you know, because you always have to look at the relationship between real estate and the GDP. That tells you the growth potentials, you know. So if we say our GDP in Nigeria is 440 billion US dollars, and you know that as of 2021, real estate is about 5.66% of GDP, you can begin to imagine what the size of this market is and how you can play in that market. Now, I'll look at real estate potentials, as I've been asked to. I'll look at 2021 in perspective, and I try to look briefly at 2022 and beyond. I'll look at what I call huge potentials, but there are growth inhibitors. So I want to play in this market. How do you navigate those inhibitors and still ensure that you meet your objectives and you achieve your deliverables in the market? Then I'll look at what I call the opportunity footprint. Looking at the footprints, I always like to look at the categories. You know, a lot of people just talk about opportunities generally. I always like to contextualize the opportunities. So that's what I call category analysis. So I look at the various categories, speak to what are the opportunities in those categories. Then I'll look at the Lekki Peninsula, you know, and I've adopted a slightly different approach to most people. Now, when you're looking at, you know, in real estate, we speak about location as the primary driver of real estate investment. So what I've done, there are 3 critical location factors: centrality, neighborhood, and infrastructure. Now, how does Lekki Peninsula fit into those location factors? So I'll look at that. I'll look at what I call the pull factors, those factors that are pulling real estate investment into Lekki. I'll look at the constraints. Then I'll round up by look at what I call direct and indirect opportunities, so that as we leave, we'll know where we want to pitch our tent. Now, I'm not sure whether this one is still listening to me. Okay. Just some okay, somebody's changing for me. Oh, point it to, oh, okay, all right. Thank you. Now, there's a slide which I just showed. Okay, there's this slide which I just showed. In November last year, McKinsey released a report, November 17th last year. The title of the report was The Rise and Rise of Global Capitalism. And in that report, McKinsey says that 68% of global net worth is held in real estate. And that underscores, and you will notice that everybody, once they make the money either from crypto or from, now a lot of money from non-fungible tokens, NFTs, they go back to real estate. They go back to real estate. After they buy Twitter, now they want to buy Coca-Cola. They want to have a strong foothold again in real estate. So this report underscores the significance of real estate as an asset class. And over 80% of the wealthiest people in the world, have affirmed that they made their money from real estate investment. Okay, good. So in this slide, I look at, very briefly, the nexus between real estate and economic development. And clearly, real estate is the critical driver of economic development, because when you want to look at any nation, you want to look at what they call the development indicators, HDI, MDGs, GDP, you go to real estate. Usually when you go to any society or any country or any sector, any region, you look at the number of cranes in that particular sector, the level of construction activities, it measures the potency of that economy. Real estate is growth enabler for other economic sectors, for offices, for retail, for manufacturing, for logistics. The driver, the primary growth enabler for all those sectors is real estate. And you will notice that in any area where real estate has been opened up, we knew how Lekki was before before the government took a decision. They became deliberate in terms of putting infrastructure here. And you can see what has happened here today. It is the key contributor to the wealth and prosperity of citizens. Like I've always stressed, the best asset class, both for individual and for institutional investors. Now I need to get this right. Okay, I will just skip this. This is speaking about economic indices, is in this slide. But I want to draw your attention to this particular slide. GDP as a Q3 2021, real estate about 5.4%. The estimate is that real estate will end the year at about 5.8% of GDP. And like I said, that helps you to begin to imagine the value and the potential opportunities in that particular segment. This slide is very important as it shows the year-on-year growth for GDP. It speaks about the population, of course, depending on who is counting, the value of our GDP, and where we really need to be as we go on. Now, let me speak to the 2021 in perspective as I look at the trend. Now, you know that after 6 consecutive years of negative growth, the last positive growth we had was Q1 2019. So throughout 2019, real estate struggled, recording significant negative growth. Then we entered 2020, there was so much hope, but by March, COVID happened. So up to Q3 2020, it was negative growth. And suddenly, Q4 2020, we recorded a positive growth of 2.8%. And now, since then, we've had consistent growth. So now we've had 7 quarters of growth in this segment. Now, that doesn't happen by accident. It means that the fundamentals of the sector are very, very strong. And you only need to understand those fundamentals and take your position on how to play in that market. Of course, there are still COVID-19 hangover. There are still odds and end of pipeline disruptions, what happened, and of course, a lot of supply chain challenges. A lot of us didn't understand. I'm a supply chain person. China is the supply chain capital of the world. Of course, in our industry, about 80% of our inputs are imported. And of that 80%, about 40-50% come out of China. So with COVID, significant supply chain disruptions, which has also resulted in major cost increases in that respect. Legal and regulatory impetus, the Finance Act 2021. I like to speak about financing because I always stress that real estate is a financing game at the end of the day. the moment you begin to understand that real estate is not about the brick and mortar, it's not about the piling, it's not about the building itself, it's about, are you able to match your assets and liabilities in the long run, sustainably? That is what real estate is about. Once you're able to match your assets and liabilities sustainably, you will continue to play in the sector. If you can't match your assets and liabilities, maybe by the time we are doing this conference next year, you are back in your village, farming or doing something else, But for those who succeed in real estate, are those who understand how to, fortunately, there are sessions on financing. I had the experience of raising significant funding in my previous life. Over an 8-year period, I was privileged to have led our company to raise over 55 billion naira, as you heard in the introduction, and all for real estate. So in 2010, we floated a 15 billion naira bond, which was 100% oversubscribed. Yield was 10%. Moratorium 2 years. Payment period 5 years. In 2013, we floated a REIT, a real estate investment trust. And in fact, I've written a book on my experience on REITs in Africa, which is available for us to buy. We floated a REIT, 33 billion naira in 2013. When FMDQ was established, we floated a bridging finance, a CP finance program, 23 billion. We went back to the market, we raised another bond, we did rights issue, all for real estate. So like I said, it's just a matter of understanding the fundamentals. And of course, since I retired, I started my own business 3 years ago. We've also raised significant funding, and we've also done many creative ways of financing our 3 or 4 projects that we have in the market now. So the Finance Act is very, very critical because it has provided the turning point in terms of tax exemptions for real estate investment trust. Of course, you also know that last year, SEC approved crowdfunding regulations, which is significant. The maximum amount that can be raised now is still 100 million naira, which is a drop in the ocean. But at least we've started from somewhere, and then we'll see where that takes us. Now, there were some defining events in 2021. Now you'll see that there's a lot of focus on innovative instruments, sukuks. So you'll see that federal government has issued 3 or 4 sukuks. Family Homes Fund also issued a sukuk last year. Acute price increases, and of course, like I mentioned, there are building collapses. Yesterday night there was another building collapse in Lagos, So when I spoke recently at an event, I said this year, for all of us, it's going to be a year of regulatory intensity, because the regulators are going to just be there, breathing down your neck. Okay, so in terms of outlook, I stress here that real estate thrives off the back of very strong macro fundamentals. So disposable income, interest rate, pricing, and inflation. And you have to look at the absorption capacity. People just jump into real estate. I always advise people, you have to understand the absorption capacity of the segment in which you want to play. Do you want to play in luxury? What are the dynamics of the luxury segment? Do you want to play in premium? Do you want to play in classic? Do you want to play in comfort homes? Do you want to play in affordable housing? Because the dynamics, the demand pattern, the dynamics, the pricing, of all those segments are different from each other. Of course, this is a year that we're going into election. And typically when we're going into election, there's always a lot of wait and see about real estate. But what I've seen this year is that most players are very bullish, election or no election. And it shows the strength and the depth of this market. Like the pastor said, you only need to travel from this place to Ekpe, and you look at the flurry of activities on development all across those particular segments. Now, I take a look at the potentials, which is very important, to grow from 3.8 billion in 2017 to 7.8 billion US dollars in 2021, and estimated, I'm sure by the time the final figures will be out now, it will be plus another 5%. This is driven largely by population and urbanization. And you'll see that as at Q3 last year, real estate was 6.76%, and construction 4.7% of the GDP. There are huge opportunities also coming from the housing deficit. And I know there's a lot of argument that, what is the deficit? It's 10 billion, it's 12 billion, you know. I always like to be official. So if you look at the Nigerian Integrated Infrastructure Master Plan, there are figures, you know. So I'll just pick my figure from government sources, and it's put at between 17 to 23 million units. You know, but the important thing is that the funding gap is estimated to be about 363 billion US dollars. So just imagine how humongous that is. You know, all you need to do as a player is to just pick a small portion of that and just hold on to it, and you're able to just do what you want to do. I want to quickly look at the inhibitors, because it is very important as players to understand what are those factors standing between us and success in this segment. I call them the inhibitors. What are those factors? You know, land tenure policy, availability of good titled land, and people will tell me that there is land everywhere, but I'm talking of good titled land. You know, fortunately, the way our land tenure system is in this country, there's no point that you can beat your chest and say that I have an indefeasible title. No. You know, so your due diligence must be exceptional, you know, because everything begins and ends with the title. You know, uncertainty of title, you could have dispute and litigation after several years. You know, you've seen Magodo, you've seen Iwaya. You know, the judgment in Iwaya was after 33 years. The one in Agidingbi, people don't know that the whole of Agidingbi, there's a Supreme Court judgment that came out after 40 years, affecting over 2,000 houses, you know. So just imagine how many times titles have changed hand over 40 years. So your due diligence must be exceptional. Land Use Act, you know, perfection of title, expensive, time consuming. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about here. Tax issues, you know, assessment can be subjective, you know, and the goalpost is always shifting. Undue delays in adjudicatory process of, you know, every investment, one of the things you're looking for is certainty. You know, and when, you know, dispute will always occur, but you're always looking for a mechanism to resolve your dispute and go back to business. But when you have cases dragging for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, it is a problem. And I've mentioned that what has happened in the segment, you now see a lot of resort to self-help, as you have seen in Magodo towards the end of last year. Land use charge, taxation, you know, those are some of the inhibitors in this respect. The next thing I spoke about is permitting and approval. You deal with multiple regulatory agencies, conflicting rules and directives. The approval process, very cumbersome, you know, and I always wonder, after you file your approval with Lagos State Physical Planning Authority, which is an authority under Ministry of Physical Planning, you go through the process, and then you collect your approval. You know, you come to church, you give testimony, hallelujah, have approval. You know, but you can't go and start. You now have to go to LAPSCA, which is also an agency under Ministry of Physical Planning. You know, and the LAPSCA will still ask you to come and submit all the documents that you have submitted, you know, so 9 sets of documents. Now, when LAPSCA gives you go ahead, another testimony, you know, you still can't go ahead. You have to go to Safety Commission to go and get approval to prove. I mean, so and every step, you know, is time consuming, and in this business, time is money. So dealing with regulatory approvals, ambiguous, time wasting. Sometimes the rules are not. I mean, and Lagos State has even tried. You know, in some states outside of Lagos. I mean, I once did a project in one state in the south, you know, that all the rules were in the head of one man. So he looks at you like this and say, Reverend, for this your property, it's 10 million. You know, he looks at you and say, this guy is fine man, fine gentleman. Your own money is 15 million. I say, what is the parameters? Everything is in somebody's head, which is a big problem. Cost is a major issue now. People don't understand that between As at the time we went for lockdown in March 2020, reinforcement per metric ton was 180,000 naira. Immediately after lockdown, we went to 240, 300, 320. It went to 400. In fact, it went across 500, and now it's sitting pretty at about 450,000 naira per metric ton. Now, there's no way you can survive as a developer. You have made commitments, there are existing obligations, and suddenly you're contending with 200 to 300% cost increase. And then exchange rate fluctuation. Most of your inputs. I mean, I have a project that the sanitaries, the doors, everything, cost went up by over 100%. And you can't go back to your customers. You go back to them, it's always a major problem. So we have to understand that we're in an economy that can be so volatile, and volatility is not good for real estate. It's not good for real estate because you're supposed to have some measure of stability, at least for your construction period. I'm not sure there's any other country on the face of the earth that you can start a project at a particular price, at a particular development cost, and then you finish at 200 to 300% of that cost. And we're all still smiling and going about as if there's no major problem. Infrastructure is a key driver of real estate development. Unfortunately, most developers here were like local government. So you do your primary infrastructure, you do your secondary infrastructure, you're a local government, you do your water, you do your sewage treatment, you do your everything, You're a local government on yourself, and there are major problems in that respect. Yet, you still pay your tax. I always argue that the basis of land taxation is unearned increment theory. That theory says that the value of land is enhanced by infrastructure and facilities not provided by the landowner. So if we have, as government, if we have provided these things to enhance the value of your land, pay us tax. But what happens when you are the one that has provided this infrastructure and facilities? What is the justification for asking for? But you know what I'm talking about? Funding is a major problem. The economic structure is skewed. This is not the business, this is not the problem, this is not the fault of the financial institutions. In a country where MPR is between 12 to 14%, by the time you do MPR plus 2 plus 3, you're already at 17%. By the time you add admin costs, you're already at 19%. So you're borrowing. When I hear that people borrow at 25, 30, 40% to do real estate, I'm wondering whether it's the same real estate that I'm doing. I always wonder, whether it's the same real estate that I'm doing. People borrow at 3% per month, 4% per month to do real estate. And that's why there's high rate of default in the market. Because already you have entered obligations that from the beginning is dead on arrival. And we have to be very careful as real estate practitioners, don't overpromise and underdeliver. It's always good to underpromise and overdeliver. But I see all manners of promises, but I have chosen to just toe that path that in this business, the greatest currency you can have is integrity. You have that integrity. I have a project now that I've sold out in the past 1.5 years, and most of my buyers, they don't even know the site. They just call us, that project up, everybody just buys. They just pay and pay and pay. It's a function of the fact that they know that you walk your talk and you will not disappoint. And that is very important. So if there's something you want to take away from me today, let's go back to integrity as the critical currency of our sector. Okay, let me look briefly at the category analysis generally, and I'll look at Lekki corridor. And I've looked at living, residential segment. The trend now is to call it living segment after COVID. Instead of calling it residential, it's now living segment. So current home ownership in Nigeria is about 25%. If you compare with South Africa, 35, Ghana, 47, UK, 65, Romania, 96, Singapore. In fact, I hear that there's a country now, Sweden, by 2024, 2025, they're going to have 100% home ownership. houses will become like roads, like normal infrastructure, that nobody buys, nobody pays for houses. So if you want to do real estate, you can only do commercial and tourism and things like that. But here, home ownership is only 25%. So there's a huge gap of 75%. That tells you the extent of the opportunities. Now we have a young population, about 75 million people between ages 16 to 27. Now these guys are going to need homes, they're going to need offices, they're going to need workspaces, So we need to understand the dynamics of this particular population and know where to position. There has been significant upsurge in diaspora investment. So today I sell into Canada, I sell into US, I sell into UK, and you can't blame them. If you put 1,000 pounds on the ground now, you know how much you have in naira. So it is cheaper for them to invest at home, and we need to be able to tap into that. So that segment, if you look at the luxury segment, very resilient. Those who buy luxury, they don't, they already have their money. They're either buying as a second or first home. I was invited, the MD of Elaland, to, of course, Elaland. Elaland is the developer of all those, number 4 body loan, where a maisonette sold for $4 million. And the guy says, see, my customers, they are there. They're waiting for me to develop. They will buy. So they don't struggle. Premium and classy segment, tough, competitive. All the players are in that segment, tough. If you're playing in that segment, you have to understand the dynamics. Comfort homes, exceptionally strong for first-time home buyers. When I was going to start my business, I deliberately decided to focus on the mid-tier segment. The target was first-time home buyers, millennials, empty nesters, So the projects that I used as a test case, I did only studios, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms, but very aspirational. You still have all the facilities, infrastructure that you will find in a normal estate, And then we also worked exceptionally on the sizing, because today we're saying that the era of Mark Mansion is gone. So we did a lot of focus study groups, we designed to suit specific sizes. Studios, 45 square meters, 1 bedroom flat, 65 square meters, 2 bedroom flat, 85 square meters. No frills, no trills, It's turned out to be, but you have to do it in a good location, because these younger people, and I see a lot of you here, they don't want to live very far. The example I give, they want to go to Quillox, close by 1 a.m., and get to their houses within 10 minutes. Once you can meet that requirement, but if you now go and build inside a jar, or you have to look for other buyers. You're targeting these upwardly mobile millennials, these IT guys. You have to meet that. But the beauty of that segment is that they are ready to trade size for proximity. So they're not looking for mansions like we used to look for. They're looking for practical, functional, aesthetically appealing, with all these facilities. And that is how we've tried to play in that market. I need to go on now, because I want to go to Lekki. Okay, it's also important to look at offices. For offices, the outlook is negative, particularly for grade A offices. There is now, by the middle of this year, there is like 350,000 square meters of new office space coming to the market. And the existing one, they've been struggling with the same, so we've been recycling the same tenants basically. So we give tenants freebies, and then they leave this building, they go to that building. That is what has been happening, because the economy has not really expanded. So there's some oversupplies, void up to 30%. So you want to play in that segment, you need to have patient capital. Capital that you build, and you can just ramp up your occupancy over the years. Retail has mixed outlook. The matured assets, relatively strong occupancies, but there has been overall decline of footfalls. And you can understand, there was COVID, people decided to stay at home, but we're all coming out of our shelter now, and then that market will probably do better. Industrial and logistics, this is the segment to play, because when you have exponential growth of e-commerce and online trade, you need a supply chain architecture that will help to drive that. Typically, what should emerge is what we call the hub and spoke system that will help to drive the online trade. You know, people don't understand that e-commerce, like I always say, e-commerce only enables transactions. E-commerce does not physically deliver the products. You know, so e-commerce will enable. Somebody still has to deliver the products physically. So when you buy online, they still have to store the product somewhere. So even if you do just in time, somebody still has to perform that aspect. You know, so with what is happening to online trade, this is the time to really take steps. And you can see what agility has done. Agility is setting up massive logistics centers. And you're wondering if an international business like that is coming to Nigeria and set all over Africa, it must be that they understand the significance of this segment. Superior returns, low maintenance, and consistent cash flows. Hospitality, strong recovery is projected. Of course, healthcare, very strong growth prospects. I saw the figures from Evercare after 1 year. I was just wondering, you know, but these segments require patient capital. These are not trading segments. You know, if you don't have patient capital, you cannot play in those particular segments. Then I did a slide which I call opportunity footprint outside Lagos. This thing is trying me. You know, so I look at opportunity footprints. And there's this report by Virtual Capitalist last year, which mentioned the top 20 fastest growing cities in the world. And incidentally, 4 of those cities are in Nigeria. You know, mentions Nnewi, mentions Abuja, Gwagalada, mentions Potiskum, I don't know why, I don't know, and mentions Lokoja. 4 of the top fastest growing cities in the world. Now, what that tells me is that there's also a whole lot of opportunities outside Lagos. And my take, you know, Lagos, I'll put Abuja at a distant number 2. Abakaliki is doing, they've made massive investments in infrastructure, you know. And unfortunately, when we hear about the East, it's about IPOB and this and that we hear, you know, there's a whole lot going on in the East. You know, my next point of call is the East. You know, and people also don't understand that apart from Abuja, most of the places that you can just have seamless in and out, ingress and egress, is the East. You know, Tunji and I went to Enugu. We went in the morning. By 6 p.m. we were back in Lagos. You know, so, but when we hear Enugu and we hear Onitsha and we hear all you think about is IPOB. But a whole lot is going on. And of course, Ibadan has done a lot of reforms for a lot of land reforms. They've done digitization, you know, and they also created, the government is also spending massively on infrastructure, and that will also drive investment. And of course, Kaduna is also a state to play, you know, even in spite of all the challenges. Okay, let's now come home. Opportunities in Lekki Peninsula. And like I said, in real estate, we speak location. But what are location factors? And there are 3 primary location factors. Number 1, we call centrality. How accessible is this particular location? So when a real estate person so when you want to take a decision as a real estate person, should I go and invest in this location? You're looking at the centrality of that location. How accessible is this particular location? Does it have single or multiple inlet and outlet? The other day we were speaking about Lagos Island. I say, Lagos Island, there's a Lagos ring. You can enter Lagos Island from 7 or 8 places. So why is real estate, why are yields so low? And I showed them that on Lagos Island, the best rental you will get is 50,000 naira per square meter, which is the Afriland Towers. You know, so why will I put my money in a place where I will get 50,000 naira per square meter when Greystone Towers is getting 350,000 naira? Heritage on Kingsway Road is getting $600 per square meter. That's like 300,000 naira, you know. You know, but as an investor, you have to look at the centrality of that location. So when you're thinking Lekki Peninsula, one of the things you should be thinking is centrality. and I'll be speaking to that. You should be looking at the neighborhood, the appearance of the neighborhood, crime and safety, the amenities. In real estate, we always talk about the company we keep. So as an investor, you want to go to a particular location, you have to look at who are the investors, who are those who are already investing, and who are those who are likely to invest, because something must be driving them. Something must be driving them. You have to look at, why are the big players not here? Or why are the big players there? That will tell you whether this is the segment to go. You know, there are some people that, when they just invest in a particular company, you know, when Warren Buffett takes a position in a particular company, people don't do analysis again. They just go and start taking position in that company because he has done all the analysis for them. Then you have to look at the development, infrastructure, civic and physical infrastructure, complementary facilities in the area. The project pipeline, in terms of real estate, in terms of complementary development, schools, hospitals, you know, tourism centers, you know, bars, lounges, you know, which make life meaningful for people. These are the factors that you have to choose, that will help you to choose. Now, for Lekki, what are your pull factors? What are the pull factors for Lekki? I need to move to the next slide now. Okay. What are the pull factors for Lekki? Number one, exceptionally attractive demographics. All categories of people are in Lekki. If you look at ABCD, the socioeconomic classification, everybody's in Lekki. You know, so as you find the driver, you also find those who want to do luxury. And it's aspirational living corridor. You know, people want to live in Lekki. You know, it's like at a stage it was like a fad. Oh, I'm now moving to Lekki. I'm now moving to Lekki. So that corridor is very aspirational, and that is also a driver of investment. Accessibility. There's a Lekki Expressway, multiple arterial ingress and egress routes. Okay, so there's congestion, and I will speak about that. You know, but there's an expressway. There's a lot of investment that is going on. There's a coastal line that is coming, that is landing near VGC. There is this, there is that. Those are the factors that should be driving you. There's a strong existing neighborhood. Lekki has a well-established real estate market, reasonably well planned, the highest concentration of gated communities even in Africa, the fastest growing real estate corridor in Africa, strong pipeline of upscale development. You look at Alaro City, the Hockley, Itunu, Lake City, Macarius, Eagle Creek, you know. We have 3 projects coming up in that segment. We have Lake City. We're launching Mestroville very soon, you know, and I'm involved in a project called the Macarius, which is going to blow everybody, you know. But I'm involved just as an advisor, you know, as a development advisor. They're bringing a water park sitting on 10,000 square meters. The builders are from Mexico. There's office, there's, you know, huge. They're doing 10 high-rises, you know, in that corridor. And then there's every presence of leading developers. So you look at who are the players. They must be looking for something. You look at this corridor, you will see Eximia, you know. Sorry, I mentioned my company first, you know. Charity begins at home. You see Eximia, you see UPDs, you see Mixed Africa, Landway, Macarius, Alpha Mid. You know, they are all in this corridor. There has to be something that is driving them. Complementary uses and land use type, educational and financial institutions. You see Pan-African University. You see La Campagna Tropicana, hotels, industries coming up in the area. It must tell you that something good about this corridor, you know. And then infrastructure, complementary development. You talk of Lagos EPZ. I just put together all the Dangote investments. You know, the refinery, the petrochemical, the deep sea port. You know, just imagine what will happen in Lekki in another 10 years. I just can't imagine it. So this is the time to take position. Every segment, you want to do residential, there will always be demand. You want to do offices, there will be collateral requirements, complementary requirements. This is the time. There's a compelling case for real estate investment. Number one, there's availability of developable land. You know, greenfield is very critical in real estate. One of the challenges of Lagos Island today is that you can't get sizable land for development. So you can't really play. But in Lekki, if we want to still do how many hectares? When we did Pinnock Beach Estate, Pinnock Beach is on 84 hectares. 84 hectares. You know, hardly will you find such large tract of land anywhere other than Lekki. Okay, maybe it's Badagry or in Okokomaiko, you know, but of course, the economics of those areas do not justify those investments. Now, and this is very, very important, high asset conversion cycle rate. You know, real estate is generally an illiquid business, very illiquid. But every investor is always looking for exits. So we always talk about asset conversion cycle. How quickly can I convert my asset to money when I want it? The highest rate today is in Lekki. Exceptional capital appreciation. And of course, justifiable ROE, return on equity. Return on equity. You know, I always say that there are 3 ROEs in real estate. There's ROE, return on equity. There's ROE, return on ego. There's ROE, return on emotion. You know, as a real estate person, you're driven only by return on equity. So it's not because, okay, let me go there just because our church members, you know, it happens a lot in the church, you know, and that's my advice for those individual land buyers, you know. Don't ever invest based on emotion or ego. Invest based on return on equity. So they will say, everybody in the church, they are now buying at how does it fit into your own investment plan and portfolio? And of course, proximity to premium luxury estates, luxury estate clusters, VI, Oniru, and Eko. Yeah, I mean, Lekki is very contiguous with this place, which is very, very important. Is very important. Now, but there are constraints. What are the constraints? Of course, stunted infrastructure. You know, we've allowed the place to grow faster and bigger than the level of infrastructure, and you can see all over the place. Inadequate road network, traffic congestion, long commute hours. I mean, I know of people who have either sold or rented their house to go and take a small place elsewhere because of long commute hours. You know, but things are improving. The coastal road is coming. The Ekpe road is being completed into Ekpe, and that will just make life a lot easier for everybody. High cost of construction because of geophysical challenges. You know, I'm doing 2 projects now. So there's one that I've just done just beside Jakonde. 40, how many apartments? 42 apartments. 48 apartments, you know, but 180 piles. 18 meters per pile. Can you imagine? 18 meters of pile. 180 piles. 60 per building. By the time you finish your substructure, if you were building on the mainland, you're already roofing. You are already on 4th floor. So high cost of building. We're on Eagle Creek now. 12 meters to the glory of God, much better. But the same thing. So the cost of construction here is very, very, very high. Regulatory intensity. Regulators tend to focus more here. If you're building in Ipaja or in Okokomaiko, you know, you're not going to get in visits the same way we get visits here. High labor cost. Flooding is a challenge. The water system is a challenge. You know, and now you have to, so we've had to do biofuel, sewage treatment recently, just to ensure that we're able to do our reticulation a lot better. And proliferated secondary and tertiary infrastructure. One of the things that we have not done well in this industry is that we don't collaborate. So if you go to Monastery Road, or you go to Ogombo Road now, Ogombo Road, you see like 20 new estates, you know, so everybody is doing his own swimming pool. Everybody is doing his own water treatment. Everybody is doing his own, you know, just imagine a situation where everybody can just come together and say, okay, let's have a master plan for this area. You know, let's drive for efficiency based on economies of scale. But that we don't do. You know, so in spite of these challenges, as I round up, what are the opportunities? I still contend that Lekki is still heaven for real estate. And I've tried to divide the opportunities into two: direct opportunities and indirect opportunities. So for direct opportunities, there are opportunities for residential development. You know, because of all the infrastructure, all the developments coming in this area, there will always be the requirement for living accommodation. You know, I understand that the shortage in Lagos is about 2.2 million housing units. I'm sure this corridor will probably take like 40 to 50% of that because of the influx of people in that area. Commercial, you know, and what happens is that when you have a new region, as the cluster is developing, as people are gravitating towards the area, you know, they will require, I mean, so if you travel, if you go on Lekki Express, you see mini neighborhood shopping centers, although they call everything shopping mall, even if there are only 10 stores there, you know, we see a whole lot of them because they have to serve that community. I already spoke about industrial, warehouses, and data centers. You know, warehouse and data centers. There was a time that we needed to store some of our building materials, and we're looking for warehouses. The rates per square meter inside near Ekpe, it's almost the same per square. It's almost the same rate per square meter in Ikeja. You know, I've mentioned digitized assets. You know, this is the era that we are moving towards digitization, and I have done a whole lot of work on digitization because now we're getting to an era that we're going to have, and I'm working on a major project now with some guys. You know, we create digital equivalent of your physical assets, and you create units, and then you convert the unit into tokens, so people can invest in tokens. You know, and with what is happening, if I'm convinced that the first major digital asset that we're going to have in Nigeria is going to come from that segment. You know, I've floated a REIT before, and I've done a lot of work on REIT. You know, REITs help you to prepare for digitization. Because with REITs, you have put the assets together in a vehicle, you have unitized. So if pastor decides, for example, that he wants to unlock value in this asset, that's the way REIT works. So we'll do a valuation of this asset. I would say this asset is, say, 1 billion naira. You know, now it may be difficult to find somebody who will put down 1 billion. So what do you do? You can create 1 billion units at 1 naira each. So you create those units, and then you sell the units. You just create a vehicle, get the necessary approval, and sell the units. So me that I have 10,000 naira, I can buy 10,000 units. Pastor himself can say, I want to retain 400,000 units. So at the end of the day, we are all unit holders in the asset. When rent is collected, the rent is shared to all of us proportionately to our investment. Now, the beauty of REITs is that the amount of the rent that should be paid to the REIT holders is already fixed by law. You know, in a limited liability company, it is the board of directors that will sit and determine what dividend to pay. But for REITs, it's already fixed by law. It's between 80 and 100%, depending on which jurisdiction you're talking about. So if you're an investor, you know how much rent is coming from the property. You know what is the percentage that you are holding. So you have certainty and regularity of cash flow. And that is what REITs bring to the table. Co-ownership, co-investing, joint ventures. Joint ventures. This is a major opportunity in this corridor. In fact, I don't buy land. You know, I don't. Okay, maybe I've invested in land, bought one land from Amcon, but generally I do only JVs. So you bring your land, you do evaluations. All my projects, joint ventures. It has worked so well, and I believe that it is the way to go. Because what you do is that you are aligning your capabilities. You are aligning capabilities. Somebody is bringing land. So as a developer, you are not putting capex up front. That is a major advantage. You're also sharing risk. You know, you can also bring in other financial partners so that you have a platform for developing and for sharing value all together. Buying land and shops. Now, let me tell us for free, there are two things that Nigerians buy without thinking. Just buy. They buy land and they buy shops. They buy land and think that, okay, it will appreciate. And also the capital outlay for land is always smaller than capital outlay for buildings. So investment in service plots will always be very good in this corridor. Lock up shops. People buy shops. They're okay, maybe my niece will need it. Maybe I always give an example of my wife, My wife is a professor of law at the university, She was, I want to, so let me buy a shop, So we bought the shop. 3-4 years, she doesn't even know where the shop is. So we had to lease the shop out. So people buy land, people buy shops. So that is always going to be a major. Of course, students' hostel and accommodation for young people. It's not just about student hostel. When I was in my previous life, I had done a project on student hostel accommodation in that corridor. But accommodation for young people, specifically designed for upwardly mobile young families who can trade up. So you're not married. You don't need 3-bedroom flats. If you have 3-bedroom flat, you have people from the village. That's when they will come. But when they see that you are living in the studio, they will say there's no place to sleep. So when you have hammered small, then you can go to 2-bedroom flat when you're about to marry. And then they also come. You and your wife, you are staying in one room, your children in the other room. They won't come. But all of us, we never had those sense. You want to show people that you have arrived. The first thing you do, go and rent a duplex. When people come from the village, they see. You don't need that. So, in terms of indirect, there's opportunity for agency, outsourced sales and marketing. Today, nobody wants to invest in a large pool of marketing. So if I get, and this morning I was already speaking to a marketing agency that, see, I'm launching this new project. It's a fairly large project. In the past, I've sold on my own, but I know that with this project now, we need to start talking to people. So outsourced marketing and sales, digital real estate services, and there's a whole lot happening in that. One of the things that I am particularly impressed by the young people in this segment, they've done a whole lot. Today we are moving to real estate as a service, and we need digital platforms to drive that. So in terms of billing, facility management, a whole lot is happening that are in this segment. Now, this is the time for these guys to start focusing on this axis, because a whole lot. Of course, consulting, legal, financial. The lawyers will always eat. I'm a lawyer. My daughter is also a lawyer. So it's good that the opportunity is also there for us to eat. But you can have specialists in Lekki. I used to have people that they understand the history of titles, the trajectory of titles in Lekki, that when they see anything, when they see any project, they can tell you the trajectory, they can tell you everything. Of course, financing is also critical. Project management, major opportunities. We always need project managers to deliver. And of course, I'm always looking for specialist contractors in Lekki. So when I'm doing a project in Lekki, and I'm pre-qualifying, I'm looking at what is the experience in Lekki, because I've done like 14, 15, 16 projects in this axis. So I kind of understand what are the challenges, and who are those who can play. So it would be nice for you as a contractor or a construction company, to have a CV that shows that you understand this territory from beginning to the end. Thank you very much, guys. That's my presentation.
Please, a round of applause for him again. I'm sure that when he came around to say all the things he was looking for, some marketing guys were already like, we know who we are going to discuss with at the end of this program. All right. I'm sure we all listened to the comments, the statements. There are two questions that came up initially, and we got one of them online, and I wrote down one question. Sir, in your opinion, how can a small player take a position now? You said Lekki is there's the Greater Lekki. No, I said Greater Lagos. It's not Greater Lekki. It's New Lekki, right? Extending in all directions. But you have mentioned that there are some parts of the real estate sector now that are seeing negative growth, and then there's the office, like the office spaces and all that. So as a small player or a young person who just wants to get into the sector, where should we be taking our positions from, really, with our finances at the moment? That's one. Two, you mentioned something about a new asset class, digital asset class. How volatile would that be, in your opinion now, especially with relations to, government regulations? We have the CBN. We don't know whether it's a ban, really, but for banks, you can't transact cryptos with the banks and all that. And if you're talking about NFTs or digital assets, it's considered under that category. So how volatile is that, and how should the people here be taking advantage of that at the moment? If you have other questions, please remember that the links are live, we're online. You can send, we'll just take 1 or 2 more questions for him, and so that we can be done with that. So, sir.
Thank you very much. Please, I forgot to talk about my book, so this is a good opportunity. So I wrote this book on real estate investment trusts. So I have some copies for sale. Hard copy is 8,000, soft copy is 5,000. For purpose of this conference, we'll do 10% discount on those prices. Which we have never really done. We've never really done, New asset class, digital asset class. See, let me explain how the world is moving and how we also don't have a choice but to move in that direction. There are 2 things that we do very well in Nigeria. We do property development fairly well. We do property management fairly well. But there's something that we don't do. We don't do property investment very well. Property investment means that once you have made your first investment in real estate, so you have struggled to build this asset, when you want to build your next asset, you shouldn't go through the same struggle. You should unlock some value in this asset and use that to accelerate your growth. That is the only way real estate can grow. It's not every time that you want to start a project that you start running kitty kata kata to raise funds. No, it's not the way it should work. So what has happened all over the world is that people have created platforms for unlocking value in real estate assets. They've created platforms for creating vehicles that will help them to pull funds. For a long time in Nigeria, it was a major problem because there was the issue with taxation. But like I said, because the issue was that if you float a REIT, all those vehicles, if you tax the REIT at the entity level and you tax the REIT in the hand of the unit holders, it is double taxation. So that was a problem. But that problem has now been solved by the Finance Act. So what will happen, whether we like it or not, is that people will create digital equivalent of their assets. But the difference, why this is not going to be volatile, is that the physical asset is still there. And I have always stressed that when you create the digital equivalent of your asset and you sell tokens, those who buy tokens, they are expecting returns. The returns will come from the optimal management of the physical assets. So there's a physical asset. There's an underlying asset when you create digital equivalent. You know, so it's not as volatile as people are assuming that it will be. And it's just I can't disclose. I can't make one or two disclosures. There's a major company now. They already have SEC approval. They and they're going ahead. They're creating both they have some assets that they've put together. They're building additional assets, and they are creating a digital. They are creating a digital equivalent, and they're going to create online platforms for people to buy tokens. It makes buying and selling of real estate very seamless. It also helps to democratize real estate. So if you want to enter the real estate ladder, you don't have to wait until you have a whole lot of money. It's not that with as small as 2,000, 3,000 naira, you can also go online and buy tokens. And then you are a part owner of that asset. And eventually when distributions are declared, it goes proportionately to everybody. That is the way I believe the market will go. In fact, we don't have a choice. It's the only way that we should go. How can a small player play in Lekki? Well, number one, there's no small player in Lekki. You know, although it depends on the Lekki that you are talking about. If it's the Lekki, you know, but if it's the Lekki as pastor knows it, you know. Now, on a more serious note, what I always advise young people is that, unfortunately, in this country, people don't plan to own homes. Everybody believes that when I hammer, I will buy a house. That is not the way it works. As a young man, you should plan to own your home. In Kenya, and you can check it out, the cooperative system in Kenya is called SACCO. They're SACCOs. You know, for every 10 houses that are sold in Kenya, 8 are financed through SACCOs. Some SACCOs in Kenya, they are bigger than the banks. Because people believe that, okay, I want to own a home in 3 years. Let me start making my contribution for my counterpart fund. I think I'll buy a house of 30, 40, 50 million. I need to raise 12, 15 million. Let me begin to save in a disciplined manner. So they join cooperatives. That is the way it should work. So my advice to young people is that plan to own your home and work towards and there's a whole lot of reforms happening, a whole lot of assistance coming in the industry. But unless you have taken the initial step, it will be difficult. You know, when I started the business, I started the real estate cooperative. And the idea was that I wanted to create a platform, you know, for people to plan to own a home. And I brought in a young lawyer. I mean, brought in a young lawyer who is managing the cooperative for me, because I also wanted to use him to reach people of his own generation. The idea is that join, you can go online, there's a generator model online, calculate, I want to buy a house XYZ in 3 years, this is how much I should pay per week, per month, per quarter, per annum. And you follow through. And then when you generate your counterpart fund, we'll help you to buy a home, either from us or of my fellow developer. That is the way I believe that young men should approach owning homes. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Okay, so we have one more question from the convener himself. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hakim, for that brilliant presentation. Quite a lot of information there. There's something that's been on my mind. So I moved into this estate sometime January last year. The duplex was sold then for about 80 million. As at February this year, that same duplex is going for 105. Now, second one, I saw a friend of mine at Nikon Town a few weeks ago, and then he was telling us some experience, what was happening at that moment. He said about 2 years ago, he was trying to convince someone to buy an empty plot of land in front of his house for 120 million. As at the day he was talking to us, that asset has moved to 500 million. So the question on my mind is, is this real? Isn't this the price of real estate in Lekki? Is it not artificial? The rent cost, don't you think it's artificial? Don't you think the bubble will burst one day? How real really is the real estate? Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. So let me just add so that I can wow you a bit. I was just telling somebody this morning that as at February 2010, when I became the CEO of UPDC, land per square meter in Pinnock Beach Estate was 28,000 naira per square meter. In the main estate, it was 35,000 in Waterfront, 2010. Today, I think Waterfront goes for 400,000 naira per square meter, and the main estate goes for as high as 350,000 naira. I mean, that's just between 21 and 20, so that's one. Number two is that, sometimes it's a function of the volatility in the economy. So I started this project in 2020, just before COVID. And when I started, because I decided that the category I was looking at, it would be really marketable if my pricing is under 40 million. So I started with studios at 15 million, 1 bedroom at 20 million, 2 bedroom at 30 million. And then what has happened has happened. So right under my nose, a secondary market has developed. The 2 bedroom that we sold for 30 million less than 2 years ago now goes for 48, 50 million. The 1 bedroom that we sold for 25 now goes for 37, 40 million. The studio that we sold for 15 million now goes for between 25 and 26 million. In fact, there's somebody who bought 2 studios who has asked me to resell at 28 million, just about 2 years. I think it's a function of 2 things. Number one, clearly there's some artificiality in it, but also there is dearth of good titled land in gated communities with the kind of facilities and infrastructure that people are looking for. And when you manage to get it right, number one, there's so much insecurity in the land. You also alluded to it. So people are looking for escape routes, looking for escape heavens. So for most of us, primarily, we are looking for a gated community. Where security, you know everybody, you can do that, So these are some of the drivers, Whether it's a bubble, there's some sense of bubble in it. Whether it's going to burst very soon, I don't think so. I think for another 5-10 years, we're still going to go around in these circles because it is a function of demand and supply. That's your estate that you're talking about. If there was another estate near you, and that's the difference between Lagos and Abuja, I always tell people. The depth of this market is unfathomable. I have seen it. I've done huge projects in Lagos. Projects that people have said, how will this be? At the peak of the recession in 2015, I was doing two projects together, and everything sold because people are looking for those assets. And when they see the assets, they are ready to pay any price for it. And it's not just about Lekki. If you go to Ikoyi, appreciation, capital appreciation is about the same thing. Which is very bad for the economy because, number one, it shows that, so people ask me, who are your buyers? You've sold out. You sold 48 apartments out who are your buyers, My target was young buyers, first-time home buyers, but I think the percentage of that in my buyer portfolio is probably like 5 or 10%, But as a developer, I want to sell to whoever puts cash on the table. Whether you are buying for your son or your daughter, whether you are buying for your girlfriend or your side chick, as long as you put the money on the table, I'm able to sell and move on. For me, all I'm looking for is cash. So there's some artificiality in it. It also has to do with the economy, the volatility in the economy, and the debt of supply of those type of tenements, which people will probably pay anything for, even to have it. And I think it's going to remain like that for another 5-10 years. And then we wait and see what happens by then. Thank you very much, and God bless. I appreciate it.
Please, another round of applause again. The amount of content that I've gotten myself from this speech is a lot. Please put your hands together for him again as he leaves. Thank you very much, sir. So very quickly, before we move on to the next speech, I'd like to call on the owners of these cars to please step outside. Your attention is needed outside. A Camry Toyota KSF 855HM and a Benz E350 APP 15FK. That's Camry Toyota KSF 855HM and a Benz E350 APP 15FK. Please, your attention is needed outside. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is the Roundtable Lekki, and it's a program packaged by Church of God Mission International Garden City and supported by Extreme Mind Solutions, P1 Group, Proclaim Media Africa, Above Only Creatives, and Tony Oje Photography. Please, let's make sure that we use the links for our questions. If you have questions in the hall and you don't want to stand up to ask your questions, you can reach out to any of the protocol officers around you. They'll give you a pen and paper to write down your questions, and you can hand them over to them and we'll get the questions. So next we're going to have our second speaker of the day, and he is the MD CEO, Lekki Global Limited. He's going to be speaking to us on real estate financing, Mr. Precious Okoje.
Good day, everybody. Wow, look at beautiful people all around. Really welcome you guys and appreciate the organizer of this great event. It's amazing to have this kind of gathering in the church. I would say I never expected it, but but here we are. So we are in the topic of real estate. And you know, when it comes to real estate, everybody's like, what is this thing we are talking about again? Is this another product? Is this just a product? Is this just another word? But this is it. For a commodity as real estate, we should understand that it's a commodity that stayed for existence. And if you're talking about this commodity, you should be thinking far and wide. This kind of commodity that a lot of investment has come and investment has gone and is still in existence. So what does that mean? It means that you need to look deep in this commodity we're talking about, which is what? Real estate. Thank you, sir, for this event. This is amazing. Oh, thank you very much. Say what? Okay. Can you guys hear me now? Yes. All right. So we're here to talk about and we're here to reason on the financing on real estate. So I see a lot of great minds here, amazing people. We have the CEO of Distress Property here, and we have the CEO of Proven Microfinance. Wow, you guys are amazing. So we're here to talk about the financing of real estate. You know, the problem with real estate in Nigeria is that we have a lot of ideas but no funding, which makes business hard. We have a lot of great minds that when they come to you and tell you what they think about real estate, I'll be like, wow. I'll be like, how can I get funding to actualize this, my vision? How can I get funding to make life better? we at Lekki Global, we see real estate more than just a commodity for money, but a commodity to change lives. Before I started real estate, I had a crazy encounter when I was coming. You know, my dad had issues with his business. And when I was growing up, I was wondering, why will a big man become poor all of a sudden? What happened? So when I was thinking about it, then I realized that it's because there was no strategy, there was no plan in place. So most of us, we have the money, but we don't have the strategy. And this is actually the problem with the society and the church at large, because we believe, but we don't have the strategy for sustenance. We don't have the strategy to sustain our wealth. It's one thing for you to get the blessing, and the other thing is for you to sustain it. So I was like, why did my dad have so much money, and at the end of the day, something happened? So when I was thinking about it, that was when I realized that he didn't invest in real estate. He didn't take real estate serious. And then we actually, God bless his memory right now. So I was very angry with him actually, because I used to ask him this question: why didn't you invest in real estate when your friends was investing in real estate? But when I got into real estate, I found that it was because there were no people like us in his time. There were no people like us to tell them the real thing that real estate provides. So now we have the opportunity for us to understand the elements, for us to understand what we need to do. How can we partake of this opportunity? How can we be, how can we function very well? So I will indulge everyone, both if you're young, to just listen, and I think we'll get something out of this. So yeah, real estate is very essential, which makes it a commodity that is very high on demand. I'm an economist. I studied economics in school. And one of the things I know is that when it comes to demand, you can control the price. Everything boils down to you. So when you have a commodity that there's demand in the market, that makes you what? You are a billionaire. Do you understand me? That makes you a billionaire because what? You have a commodity in your possession that is on your name. Are you getting it? So now, this is what makes real estate very essential. There are three elements when it comes to what, when you want to leave, I don't know, where's this time? I don't want to pass my time. Where's the time, please? Where's it? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, there's three essential elements when you that entails life, which is what? Food, which is what? Oxygen, and which is shelter. You can't do without food, you can't do without oxygen, and also you can't do without shelter. Are you understanding it? So which makes, and real estate falls on what? Under shelter. So I'm trying to establish the importance of real estate so that after this event, if you hear real estate, you will jump on it. So now, shelter is what? The third integral part of what? Of human existence. So now, how do we participate in this? How do we participate in this? And shelter what is divided into what? It's divided into three classification. We have the community shelter program, we have the national, we have the individual shelter program, and family. And also, this classification have different fundings. Are you understanding me? Have different fundings. That means that if you're talking about community shelter program, you know that it's all about NGOs, it's all about corporations that want to create a program that is willing to create funds known as grants for individuals that has great minds, that have good ideas, that fits what they're trying to what they're trying to project into the society. This is what community shelter program is. Then we also have the national and state shelter program, which that involves government government creating funds for the public to say, okay, currently we have over 20 million housing deficit. What does that mean? That we are currently below, as in the population is so high and there is low housing for everyone. So now government now say, okay, yeah, we have these funds. We have these funds allocated for this purpose. We have these funds allocated for this specific purpose okay, for this year, let's close at 3 million housing deficit. So those are what programs. And what? There are different ways you assess these programs. There are different ways you assess this program. And we also have what? We have the individual and family shelter program. What does that mean? Is that individual coming together and say, okay, yeah, there's demand in this market. There's importance for me to develop something in this market. There's importance for me to invest in this market. And they come together and say, okay, yeah, let's create a strategy. Let's create something so that we can enable us create solutions for the housing deficit. So yeah, so we also have that. And also, you know, these classifications, we have different financing methods for us to get a chunk of this. So now we're talking about the global funding which entails the WHO, where they create grants. And how do you assess these grants? What do you need to do to assess these grants? First of all, your project has to be what? Experiential. Why? Because your project you're trying to assess, you're trying to create for these people, it has to meet some level of categories. It has to meet some level, oh God, I'm sorry. So it has to meet some level of what the people want. If you're saying you have an idea of trying to create 200 housing units, what are those units about? Is it just to build? Where the location are you investing in? Do you understand me? Where the location are you investing in? Are you trying to just build because there's a chunk of money you need to access? No, you don't access the funds like that. How do you access this fund? Your project has to meet what? It has to be experiential. And what? It has to have the ability. It needs to have the ability to yield major returns. You know, there's a problem with a lot of real estate programming in Nigeria currently. You see developers having a chunk of money and they go somewhere in Ekwe or somewhere. Someone called me last week and said he's looking for a plot of land to invest somewhere in Ekwe. He wants to bid and sell. I'm like, why will you go to as far as that place to bid and sell? Because what? There's no market there. There's no demand there. Who will go there to live? At the end of the day, your money is stuck somewhere, and you are asking, why are people not coming? Do you understand me? Why are buyers not coming? And a lot of major projects currently where the government are currently developing, and you see government going to places that it can't meet a corporation standard to develop, and at the end of the day, you find that there's nobody living there. That's because the government refused to analyze, okay, what's the demand for this kind of project? In this community, what kind of people are we trying to relocate to this community? Do you understand me? So that becomes a problem. So now, so any project that we move an investor must what? Like I said before, it must be what? Experiential. It must be what? Environmental friendly. So now, I need to make you guys understand some elements that makes a real estate appreciate. So most times we dwell on the proximity, but no, it's not actually proximity that makes location appreciate. It's okay. Oh, okay. Thank you very much. So it's not actually proximity that makes real estate appreciate. First of all, you need to look at the culture. What's the culture of what you're developing? So I was thinking one day, I was driving past Ajar, and I was thinking, okay, why is Royal Garden in Aja more expensive than some estates in Lekki Phase 1, than some estate in Ologolo. So when I was thinking about it, then I realized that cleanliness is what makes this culture, is what makes this locality appreciate more than the proximity we're talking about. So now, before an investor will want to key into your project, you need to look at these factors. Look at this factor. It must be what? Environmental friendly. So, and it must be proven to be what? To be smart and innovative. Are you getting me? It must be proven to be what? Smart and innovative. So what are your ideas like? You need funding. What are your ideas like? Does it meet these categories? Do you understand me? Does it meet these categories? Can an investor come to you and listen to you and say, okay, yes, I can make a lot of money from this, but does it meet these categories? Because first of all, money must be made, but we're looking at sustainers. How can this project be sustained over time? How can this project be sustained over time? Do you understand me? And what? It must be proven, it must be proven that it can swallow an investment and is able to give returns on an investment. Do you understand me? So no investor will tell you that, okay, yes, your ideas are lovely and innovative, but what's the proof that when I put $1 billion in this project, I can get 50% returns on my investment? Do you understand me? So that is how, these are the things you need to put together for you to go to an investor. So now, we're talking about the sources of funding. So now, first source of funding we're talking about is what we call self-funding. You know, most of us have some chunk of money we've been saving for a while. Investors here, you have like a major project. After this event, you're thinking of, okay, I want to go and develop. I want to go into real estate. Yeah, it's a very brilliant idea, but there's a problem. What are the problems? What are the problems? The problem when it comes to you trying to invest and develop a project, even if it's residential or commercial, there are some elements you need to look at. First of all, where am I investing in? Do you understand me? Where am I investing in? Where am I investing in? Will I get quick sales in this my investment? Do you understand me? What's the ability for this project I'm trying to develop? How fast can I get returns on this investment? Do you understand me? Those are the things you need to look at when you're trying to develop with your funds, when you're trying to develop with your saving. If that is not put into consideration, it becomes a problem. Because at the end of the day, you might be in church telling pastor that, come pray for me. So now, understanding that when you're using your saving for business, during my time in business, I found out that there are some businesses you shouldn't use your funds on. It's better to use investors' money so that you'll be more careful. You tend to bear all the risk. All the risk falls on your head, and then you'll be using your emotions. Are you understanding me? Then you'll be using what? Your emotions. You can't think straight, because when a developer is not doing something right, you might break his head, and that's a problem. So now, and understanding what type of development do you want to develop? For every location, there's different kind of development you should develop. For example, now, Lekki as is now, the cost of housing is very expensive. So now, why will you want to develop in a location that the cost of housing is expensive and your savings is not enough? You don't have funding yet, and you're trying to develop all alone with your funds. What's the demand in that market that you're trying to develop? What's demand for that product? Are you getting it? Are you understanding it? So if you're not understanding, let me know, please. So what's the demand for the product you're trying to develop? For example, now we have places, currently, there's high demand for apartments around Lekki, Kate. So now, if you're a smart investor, quickly you should dive into that. Do you understand me? There's demand for terrace, around Orchid or Logolo. If you're smart investors, you need to jump into that. And the other thing you need to understand is, what's the financial power of the public? Currently, we understand that there's election coming on, and there's low funds everywhere. People are not willing to buy in politicians and all that, and funding. They are not willing to. They don't understand what will happen to the next government. If the next government will be sorry, let me not go there. So you understand? Okay, what's the financial power of the public right now? If I build a house of 500 million naira in a location, will I have an investor that will want to come there and buy that? Do you understand me? And the other thing you need to understand is customers' preference. So you as you that's going to self-funding, those are the things you need to look at when you're trying to develop a property, when you're trying to fund a real estate program. So now we have other source of funding, which is the financial institution and external funding. So they are financial institution that is set up for what? For development of real estate. We have the mortgage system, we have the banks. Naturally, banks are supposed to what? As in, finance real estate investment. Why? Because real estate investment is safe when you have everything put together. Real estate investment is secure. It can give you a good return on your investment. But in Nigeria, it's a different case, because they will tell you to bring a lot of documentation. So that becomes a problem. Are you understanding me? So now, how do you get funding from this institution, from these bodies? It's when you have all your documents right. You need to have a collateral, your building plan and the project you're trying to go into. You need to bring it to the table for them to analyze. Is this a good investment? How much is in for me? But there's a problem in this aspect. The returns, the interest rate in this aspect is very, very It's very high. More, unlike your self-funding. At the end of the day, after you're done with the project, you take all the funds, you are happy. You've made 60% returns on your investment. But in this aspect, there's a problem. Because when you collect your loan, you know that every month you need to pay interest rate. And interest rate in this category of financing, it's high. But you as a smart person, it's good to take loans, right? But you need to take loans for the right reasons. Because loans can be different for everyone. Some people take loan to buy a house to live. Some people take loan for investment. So it's different. But for me, as a real estate practitioner, I advise people, if you're taking a loan, it has to be for investment. If you're taking a loan, if you're taking mortgage to finance your project, it has to be for investment. Do you understand? So we at Lekki Global, we are actually all about investment, because financial freedom is key. When you have financial freedom, that is when you can come to church and praise God very well. Yeah. You can't, pastor will be sitting down, you are thinking of your problem. Pastor is preaching, it's not entering your head. That's because financial freedom is key. And right now, in the Christian body, it's very, very important for Christians to be financially free. Because when I read my Bible, I remember God saying that in the last days, I will so much, as in, mesmerize my people with prosperity, and my people will no longer be ashamed. So what does that mean? That in the end time, there will be prosperity everywhere. But now, what's our responsibility? Is for you to create a channel for you to get this prosperity. Do you understand me? For you to create a channel, for you to say, okay, yes, God say will bless me. What do I have on my hand? What am I doing? Do you understand me? And as a matter of fact, that's why real estate is one source for you to create a channel for God's blessings. So now, let me go back. Like what I was saying, I said, loan is good. Taking a loan is good. But you need to do your background check. Your background check. The investment you are trying to go, how fast can you develop this? Because at the end of the day, taking loan and your interest rate is climbing becomes a problem. You might not see, you might even pay the loan back with your own personal money. So now, there's things you need to look forward when you're taking a loan. Why? You need to do all your due diligence. When I mean due diligence, you need to make sure that you get a consultant. In this part of the world, we have issues with having people to advise us. I don't know why. We have issues with connecting with experts. We have issues to get the right people to tell you, okay, this is what you should do. Do you understand me? In business, that shouldn't be an issue, because taking emotion aside, even the Bible said, I'm sorry I'm quoting the Bible, but I just love quoting the Bible when I'm talking about real estate. It said, when there's multitude of cancer, what? Do you understand me? So it's important that you meet the right people. You connect to the right people to tell you, okay, what is your idea? How can I function well? How can this thing yield results? Sometimes what your idea might not be very feasible, might not be so, because there's a way. I want to give you a story. During the COVID, I got into an investment. I was so emotionally tied to this investment. I was investing so much money that I didn't see the other parts. So at the end of the day, I found out that, God, emotions can drive you to the point that you are investing so hard that, this thing will yield result, but you've not seen the other side, the exit point. Do you understand me? So it's key when you're trying to assess loans, you can get loans from the institutional bodies, trying to get loans to finance your houses. Look at the other aspect. What's my rate of repayment? Do you understand me? The other day I was talking to a mortgage expert, and he gave me an insight. He said, when you get 150 million naira mortgage, you can actually buy 2 houses and get the rent from those 2 houses to pay for your mortgage. I was like, wow. In Nigeria, but most of us are not aware. This is cheap. Do you understand me? This is cheap, but most of us are not aware. Do you understand me? So now, how do you access these funds? You must have a good returns. You must have a good salary payment. You must have a good what's it called? It's been long I received salary. Sorry. You must have a good salary structure. So they are able to see, okay, you can actually make some money regardless of your project you're trying to assess, because the bank, they don't care about you, okay, your project it will give us these returns. They care about, even if you say your project doesn't give any returns, where's my money? Do you understand me? So now, that becomes a problem. So now, other source of funding, which is the recent juicy source of funding, and which I will say, if the church can even imbibe it, it will create massive weight for the body of Christ. It's the part of co-funding. So you don't understand the importance of 500,000 naira or 1 million naira. We don't understand the importance of 200,000. But if you look at these billionaires you're looking at, they understand that just small money is the real money. Are you understanding me? So co-funding has the ability to get people to be financially free when there's an understanding that, okay, we have a project coming up and we need 2 billion naira. So we need co-funders. And after this project, look at the analysis, look at what we're going to be making. Do you understand me? This is the reason why we set up an investment program called Lekki Co-Investing. So that in that way, you don't need to save up to have 100 million naira before you own a piece of real estate. It's the new trend and it's the juicy form of sourcing right now, which I advise each and every one of you to understand that fair, to understand that part, So instead of you young people thinking that, okay, I want to buy a house, let me save up to 50 million naira to buy a house. Rather, co-invest. Let your investment pay for your liability. I don't know if you understand me. Let your investment pay for your liability. So now, the importance of co-investing is this. You don't need to own real estate and say, okay, I have 10 houses. You don't need to own real estate and say, okay, I have 20 lands and they are not bringing returns. And the other part I need you guys to understand in real estate is that there's this issues that hasn't been cleared yet. When you invest in a land and you're saying you are keeping it, you're not really investing, you are saving your money. Because at the end of the day, if you check out the interest rate, if you check out the dollar to naira, a client called us and said that, okay, he bought a property, $10,000 on the mainland. And he said that we should go see the property and sell the property for him. And I was like, okay. I went there. The value of the property was what? 20 million naira. I was not like, the property here is 20 million naira. He bought it 2018. $10,000. How much is $10,000 now? Do you understand me? So that's the part of real estate that a lot of us need to understand, that at the end of the day, he hasn't made any money. He's losing. So those are the factors we need to check when we are investing in real estate. Am I investing my money or am I sinking my finance? So yes, real estate can be so sweet and beautiful that we're like, okay, because you are hearing real estate, you want to jump into it. But sincerely, these factors are key. Because at the end of the day, if you just realize that 2 years' time, you are thinking that your property will go to $1 billion and it's still the same value, and commodity is increasing, high cost of living. So at the end of the day, you're not investing. So now, how do you tackle this problem? How do you tackle this problem? I advise people that, see, go into investment. Let your investment pay for your liability. Because financial freedom is key. Do you understand me? Financial freedom is key. So now, what you should be thinking about is investment. That is where co-investing comes in. Okay, now, and part of the thing that co-investing can do for you can actually give you quick returns on your investment. So rather than you waiting, putting $1 million and you're waiting for 5 years' time, in 6 months, your funds, you've gotten your funds and you've gotten returns on your investment. Are you understanding it? So now, we need to look at that aspect of co-funding. If the body of Christ can see to that and say, okay, church, we want to develop 20 units of apartments. Let's look at the structure, look at how much everybody. It's not wrong for the church to be. I don't get it. This is ideas. This is common sense. And if the body of Christ can actually flow in that direction and say, God, Holy Spirit, direct us. Yes, the church is the center of blessing. Is the center, but there's ideas comes, and if the body of Christ don't accept these ideas, if the body of Christ are not the first partaker, it becomes a problem. Do you understand me? So now we have the part of joint ventures. My Oga said a lot about joint ventures, which is lovely. At the end of the day, you're not, instead of you thinking of you self-financing, just have the land and get a developer to build on the land. In that way, you make what? You make 100% of your investment. That's a source of funding that you don't even have to bring your 1 naira, but you are making a lot of money. Are you getting it? So now, what am I saying is that we need to be aware. I tell people, money is not hard to make if there's awareness. Money is not hard to make if we actually have this information on our hands. Do you understand me? If we have this information in our hands and say, okay, yes, we have all the information when it comes to real estate, we have all the investment strategy, then what's the next? Let's go for funding. With all these things I've stated down, with all these things I've given you insight on, I believe that we have everything it takes for us to finance real estate. So thank you very much, sir.
Another round of applause. Thank you very much, sir. Let's just do this quickly. I'm going to just take one or two questions, and I'll start with this one, which was given to me. So thank you, sir. So the first one, you said, you talked about other factors underpinning investments apart from the return on investment, in terms of financial return on investment. Can you dig deeper a bit into this? What should I be looking out for if I'm going to make an investment in real estate, if I'm not really focused on primarily on my return on investment? What are the things that you were really talking about? I think some people missed that, so could you repeat one or two of them?
That's a lovely one. I like people that love figures. So now, what is the interest rate annually? We have, the bank gives what, 5% fixed deposit, right? But now, if we're looking at real estate investment, there is tendency for you to have as high as 30% appreciation on your finance. So now, if you look around and you say, okay, 30% of my finance, why must I take 30%? Because one is tangible. Most of us, we've actually fell for this process scheme and the rest. They'll tell you that you get 100% returns on investment in 1 month. But real estate, it has the ability to give you what? 30% to 40% returns on your investment if invested right with all these factors I've listed. Do you understand me? So I believe with that, we've been able to answer that question, right?
Yes, thank you very much for that. So finally, you also mentioned some setting where people who don't have as much money could come in, to co-invest with other people. What was the name of that company or service that you mentioned that you started up that people could come on board with and co-invest in properties?
It's Kelki Co-Invest.
Okay, Kelki Co-Invest.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm sure that the people listening, please let's make sure we check that out immediately. If you have little money, you can co-invest in a property right now. Thank you very much, sir. Put your hands together for him again. Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. So very quickly, we're going to do some housekeeping. We thank you for being here. We know that you've spent a lot of time, invested a lot of your time to be here today on this amazing public holiday / event day. So happy Workers' Day in our areas to workers like me, because the Workers' Day was on Sunday. We didn't get to enjoy it, but today we are doing something that is more enjoyable than that. So, ladies and gentlemen, very quickly, what we're going to do now is we're going to have a 5-minute interlude, break. What is going to happen in these 5 minutes is what we like to call real estate speed dating. Please, if you've been on speed dates before, where you went to talk to somebody face to face and you had to, in 1 minute, you had to ask the person, what's your name, everything about the person. Some people went straight to, what do you bring to the table? One of the most controversial questions in the world now. The one that ladies don't want to hear. What do you bring to the table? I am the table. Okay. I'm sorry. We don't know when we start buying furniture. So, sorry, I didn't say that. So. Okay, so we're going to do that very quickly. What we mean is reach out to somebody. We introduce ourselves to some people sitting next to us. Reach out to somebody. You never know what sort of opportunities would come up in that. For example, as a media and advertising professional myself, I'm always looking out for opportunities that I can expose to the world. And I've already gotten some opportunities. Right now, somebody wants to buy some property with immediate effects. So if you're interested in selling your property with immediate effects, please, I'm ready to speed dates immediately. I will sort through the people, right? So let's have discussions. All sorts of things are happening here. A lot of people are going to be, like I said, the person you might have wanted to meet for the past 1 month, 1 year, you've been writing letters, the person might be sitting next to you. So make sure you do that. After that, we're going to have a very, very impactful, very powerful panel session where we are going to be really getting down to the nitty-gritty of the questions that most of us battle with when we think about this thing. You know, it's all fun and games, you know, a lot of times when we're hearing the figures, you buy now for 100 million, you sell for 250 or 500 million, bring your money and let's go, like that, right? But I know that a lot of people have had their fingers burnt. A lot of people have bought properties that was sold to another person before you and was sold to another person, and 3 of you went to court together, and the judge didn't know what to do. All sorts of things have happened in the industry. So what we are going to have is we're going to have panel sessions that breaks down the financing down to even mortgage. We have a session on mortgage where you find out how you can begin to finance your own house or finance your own projects, even by breaking down the payments over years. We have a mortgage expert in the house. We have a legal expert in the house who is going to help us to understand, especially in the Lekki Peninsula, what the constraints are, what the legal expectations are, what you should look out for right now when you are trying to invest your funds. And we have many more things to come. So please, 5 minutes very quickly while the music is playing, meet with somebody, say hi to the person, find out about their investment opportunities, and we'll come back here in 5 minutes. Thank you. All right, please, if you own a white Hyundai, APP355GT, APP355GT white Hyundai, please, your attention is needed outside. APP355GT white Hyundai, thank you very much. right. Thank you very much. Can we have our seats? Thank you very much. There'll be a lot of time for these. This is just a beginning. You have a lot of time to have discussions on this. Please, can we return to our seats? Thank you very much. We're about to start the panel session, which will have three amazing personalities. Oh, thank you very much. This is an interesting audience. I'm trying to remind myself that I'm in Lekki Phase 1, or Lekki Peninsula, I might say. Because now the noise levels have gone down, it's almost gone. Wow. I've been to events where immediately you make this announcement, people start talking a lot more. But thank you for having your seats. Thank you for returning to your seats. We're going to continue in earnest right now. Yes. Now we're going to have our speakers, our panelists, who are going to come up and discuss, like I said, ranging topics from financing to mortgage to legal standpoint. We're going to have an engaging discussion. Please, it's for us to be part of, not for us to just listen in, to be part of. If you have questions at any point during this panel discussion, please just indicate to any of the ushers and they will take your questions. If you want to speak or you want to speak your questions to the mic, please remember to keep your questions short. Less than 30 seconds, please make your point and ask your questions for our panelists. The next you're going to hear is the profiles of the panelists, and please make sure that you listen to their profiles, understand who they are, so that you know the direction in which they'll be speaking and the kind of questions that they will answer. Please let us listen as we play the panelist profile.
Hello, everyone. I believe the media is having some technical glitch with playing the profiles, so I'll just introduce myself first. My name is Ekemini James. I'm a legal practitioner. I will be moderating the panel session.
Of laws.
And I think I'll give way for them to play. Are we ready?
Start career at internet.
All right, thank you.
Mrs. Adetuke Benson Awoyinka, a legal practitioner, is grounded in different areas of the legal profession, ranging from insurance law, which includes underwriting policies, as well as risk and claims management. She also possesses expertise in litigation, probate and land matters. She had her education at Marywood Grammar School at Butemeta and graduated at the Lagos State University, LASU, with a Bachelor of Laws, and was subsequently called to the Nigerian bar in 1990. She started her career at International Standard Insurers, where she learned the roles in insurance law and thereafter moved to full-time legal practice and litigation with Yemi Peters & Co., and later B.O. Benson Law Office, where she worked with the best hands in probate and land matters. She further challenged herself when she went into partnership with Benga Falabi Benson & Co., Lennox and Blair Estates, venturing into oil and gas law and consultancy. In garnering her expertise, Mrs. Adetuke Benson Awoyinka worked at various times at Sprint United, a multi-billion-dollar telecommunications company in the United States, as lawyer and technical consultant.
Hello.
And later as head of corporate strategy and policy implementation at Vin Incorporated USA, armed with a wealth of experience in policy making and implementation.
Dr. Jane Obioma Onwumere. Dr. Onwumere is the Group Managing Director of the P1 Group. P1 is an acronym for Property World Africa Network. She Aderonke Abiola Olarinwaju. Abiola Olarinwaju is an experienced and resourceful financial service professional with proficiency in banking, customer service management, and relationship management, who seeks new opportunities in challenging environment. She is a graduate of political science from the University of Ibadan, Oyo State, Nigeria. She also bags a master's certificate in marketing from Ladoke Akintola University, Oyo State. As a goal-driven individual with excellent interpersonal skills, she is a member of the Chartered Institute of Marketing and Customer Service here in Lagos. She also boasts of working at various financial institutions such as Keystone Bank, Sterling Bank, Guardian Express Assurance, AXA Mansard, and currently the executive branch head at Jubilee Life Mortgage Bank, Adiola Hopewell Branch, Victoria Island. She is a skilled oral and written communicator and a natural flair for meeting and surpassing set targets.
Hakeem Oguniro, Chairman, NBCC. Ogene Ochuko Pedro Esquire. Ochuko has about 30 years of composite legal versatility in private and public law practice. Ochuko is the proprietor of First Legal, a law firm providing legal consultancy services to a list of businesses in the oil and gas and power sectors of Nigeria, including Q Technologies Subsea Limited, Delta Lift Resources Nigeria Limited, and Primeniza Energy Limited. First Legal furnished legal consultancy services to bidders in the DPR 2020 marginal field bid round. Between June 2007 and June 2012, he served as Group Company Secretary, Legal Advisor to Wilbros Group, later renamed Ascot, a full complement engineering and construction services entity in the oil industry in the West African sub-region. Ochuko was deeply involved in the formation and establishment in 2016 of the Nigerian-Norwegian Chambers of Commerce Limited, for which he received commendation of the then Ambassador of Norway to Nigeria. He is the company's secretary of the chamber. He has also provided legal consultancy services to the Department for International Development, DFID, a UK aid program. He is a graduate both of the University of Jos and Lagos, where he obtained his LLB and LLM. His master's degree is with emphasis on comparative company law and secured credits. He also holds the Advanced Legal Advisor Certificate 2005 of the Thames Valley University, London. He was head of the chambers of the law firm of Osibajo, Kukui and Adopaye, a city law firm in which the vice president, Professor Yemi Osibajo, GCFR, SAN, was partner at the time. Ochuku yielded to the public law to serve as special assistant to the Attorney General of Delta State from 2001 to 2007. While so engaged, he was secretary to the Technical Legal Committee of the Forum of Governors of the South-South Zone. Mr. Pedro's extensive litigation experience in one of the most profound city law firms primarily serves case flow management needs of organizations. His experience in private and public sector commercial documentation supplies valuable inputs in the formalization of commercial transactions involving government and government agencies. Mr. Pedro is a sought-after faculty in producing position papers on commercial aspects of law. His research capabilities transfuse into sound and insightful legal advisories for businesses. Having worked in the public sector, Mr. Pedro's interaction with various government agencies provides good understanding that assists organizations meet statutory and regulatory compliance issues.
Dr. Jane Obioma Onwumere. Dr. Onwumere is the Group Managing Director of the P1 Group. P1 is an acronym for Property World Africa Network. She leads a team of 12 managing directors with 110 direct staff spread across 12 affiliate companies that make up the P1 Group and over 30,000 independent real estate professionals, generally called consultants. In the history of Nigeria, we have not experienced more people in real estate than we have now, and it is due to this novel idea birthed by this couple, even at a time when they were homeless, with focus, determination, and hard work. This has strengthened synergies and yielded positive outcomes for the sector. 3 years into its operation, always a pioneer, P1 Homes began to open other companies in partnership with independent consultants, which today forms the P1 Group. Presently, there are 12 companies known as P1 Edge, P1 Plus, P1 Premium, P1 Heritage, P1 Haven, P1 Prime, P1 Legend, P1 Stars, P1 Lekki, P1 Royale, P1 Assurance, and P1 Precious. In 2017, Mama Africa, as Mrs. Onwumere is fondly called, single-handedly empowered 50 women to start up small business venture or to improve existing ones with 50,000 naira each through her Empowerment for All Women program. This she intends to do every year for as long as the Lord enables her to do so. She has organized several outreaches to orphanages with a lot of provisions and monetary gifts. Together with her husband, she pays school fees for so many children, pays house rent for many, and keeps a completely open door policy that has made many refer to her as Mommy, Mama Africa, and so on. The work done by P1 is just a little over 6 years and has inspired so many people to venture not just into real estate by using the P1 model, but into other businesses. People now understand you do not necessarily need money to venture. You need faith, you need focus, and you need tenacity. And mostly, you need to have love for people and a desire to empower people to become the best they can be. She was conferred with an honorary doctorate degree by the European American University, Commonwealth of Dominica, following her contributions to making home ownership a dream reality for as many people as possible. Dr. Jane Obioma Onwumere, a lifelong learner and alumnus of Lagos Business School, also attended the Owner-President Management Program at the prestigious Harvard University, Boston, Massachusetts, in the United States of America. She is married to her best friend, a man she believes God used to birth relevance in her life, and they are blessed with 3 lovely children. Mr. Precious Okoje. Mr. Precious Ehizoje Okoje.
Hello, everyone, again, and welcome to the second session of today's program. Can I get some more volume on this, please? Thank you. All right, that's better. Okay, so you're welcome to the second session for today's event, and we're having a panel session. We've heard the profiles of our erudite panelists, and I am honored to be in their midst and to be moderating this session. I'm going to give you an idea of how it's going to go, but first, before I do that, I'll introduce myself. My name is Ekemini James, but you can call me Ekemini. And I'll be moderating this session. It'll go this way. We'll have our panelists give us an overview, and they're already prepared for us. They're well prepared for us. And then when they give us their overview, we're going to have some questions. Now, this session is going to be more interactive than the one we had at first. You know, the first session we had speakers come forth, speak to you, and then they took questions at the end. But this one, we'll have them talk a bit, we'll hear from you, and then they'll talk some more, and we'll all learn and have a good time. So I'm looking forward to the session we're going to have. So I'm going to start with Dr. Jane. Can I call you Dr. Jane? Or would you prefer Dr. Umeri? Dr. J is fine. Okay. Oh, OJ is fine. All right. I think I like that. Okay. OJ, I'm sorry. I'm just too formal. I'm going to have to add doctor to it. Dr. OJ, we're wondering if you could give us a general overview, you know, of personal investments in real estate. Just a general overview so it opens our minds to what opportunities are there as individuals in the real estate space in Lekki.
Good afternoon, everybody. Well, my name is OJ. I prefer to be called OJ. Let's leave all the doctor apart. It is honorary. I didn't read for it. But it's okay. Thank you. We're talking about investment in real estate. Let's look at it from 2 ways. You know, one is the investment itself, and the other one is finding the money to do the investment. And whenever I have the opportunity to talk about this particular topic, what I mostly always remind people is that everybody, every human being has a little money, has something they can always invest in real estate. A lot of times we think we do not have. A lot of times we think we need a lot of money to start investment in real estate. It is not so. With as little as even 15,000 naira in our own program in P1 Group, you can start investment in real estate. And I know that a lot of people can afford even that small amount. That does not mean that you cannot do with much more than that. You can, of course, do with much more than that if you have the resources. What I see wrong is not starting at all. You know, so everybody here, no matter your level here, you can begin to trade real estate. We have a platform that we use in doing that in our own organization, and I'm sure that in several other companies across the nation, other people are also doing the same thing. When we started real estate in 2012, it might interest you to know that we started this entire organization with 15,000 naira. I will actually say practically zero capital. We started with flyers, which we shared on our feet on the road. We started from a bar where we just had a table, we sit down to receive people. It was not the way it is today. But what I'm trying to say is that even now, you can start the same way. Now, you may not be playing actively in the field like we are doing, but you can also play in it from the investment angle. And there are several opportunities for that. I think with time and with questions, I can throw more light in that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll move to our next panelist. Okay, can I call you Mr. Pedro, or would you prefer your church title? Okay, all right. So we'll move further to Elder Pedro. We're wondering if you could give us just a general overview of the legal aspects of real estate real estate financing in Lekki within this axis.
Financing, I guess that is the angle that Dr. OJ will be dealing with. Basically, the snippets that I want to give is law as an instrument in real estate transactions. Law as an instrument. And your property rights, right? What are your property rights? What does law do for you? Why does law need to come in? You're talking about land and land transactions. The role that the law plays for you and I is to enable you to understand your relationship with the asset, with the property. That's all it does, just to help you understand. If we go back to our to the old days when land was totally governed by customary law, there was no documentation and there was a lot of trouble. A family gives land to another family to farm. We do not know for how long. The next day, descendants of that family want to take back their land, and this one is saying, what are you talking about? This land, our fathers have farmed it for hundreds of years. You know, there was a lot of uncertainty regarding the nature of the holdings. Some of them will say, as long as you bring kola nuts every year and some of the harvest, you can use the land forever. If you default, then we take it back. Others will come back and say, you have had it, for too long, we want it back. And you say, no, that's not the agreement. As long as we give you kola nuts, you cannot take it back. So you had customary tenants that were there forever. The land cannot come back to families that own them and all of that, So the white man came and helped us with a lot of things. Documentation now began to appear, and now we began to understand that if you give a lease, the lease must have a term of years, it must have consideration, all of those things. So property law enables you to understand the relationship you have with the land that you are dealing with. And it is very complex. There's no way I can deal with property law relating to land transactions. There's property law that does not deal with land transactions. So your goods and your charters, your cars, all of those things are properties. And they have their own laws that deal with it. Even your name is property if you have a good name. That is property. Companies have goodwill based upon their brand and their name, and they sell it. So you have all types of property, tangible, intangible, movable, and immovable. Now, with relation to landed property, it is immovable. It is the type of property that you cannot buy and put in your car boot or put in your wallet and take home. With every other thing you can cut away, you can take home. But with land, you do not take it anywhere. In fact, the land keeps pulling you back. You are the one that visits the land. So the land keeps pulling, it's not going anywhere. And that is why people say at times that we think we own the land, but the land actually owns us. Because it keeps coming, you keep going back to it. So property law helps you define that. Property law, if I may want to capture it graphically, is something like this. Since we are dealing with real estate, I'm going to use an example that is from this industry. Can you tell me the most expensive real estate in this world? Might probably be somebody's palace somewhere, maybe Buckingham Palace. The most expensive. If you go into that premises, there's always an animal that is there. You find it there. Does anyone want to guess? Not dog.
Could it be
not human beings.
Could it be the lizard?
The spider. You will find the spider. No matter how expensive, how luxurious, you will find the spider there. What does the spider do? It builds itself its own real estate, right? So it creates cobwebs, right? It builds cobwebs. Now, real estate law is like the spider and its cobwebs. Why do I say so? The spider sitting in the middle is the government, right? The cobwebs are the laws that deal with real estate. And they are complex and they are many. I can't begin to deal with all of them. And then you and I, poor us, we are the flies. We are the flies that get caught in it. It is for this reason that law is important. So you need a lawyer to walk you through the cobwebs if you are doing the real estate and the estate business. If you say you want to do it on your own, one of our speakers just told us that lawyers always eat as if they don't work. But they do work. They do work. If you are going to climb onto a cobweb and the spider is waiting to eat you, then, my friend, you need a good lawyer. Yes. Actually, you need a good lawyer like me.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that very wonderful analogy. So we'll move on to our third speaker. Aderonke, you are in the field of you're in the banking field, yes. Right? And you work with mortgages, and there's always this question that I hear most of the time. You know that mortgages are a thing that happen abroad. You know, they don't happen here. So I'd like you to throw a bit of light on mortgages in Nigeria. Are they something that only in the textbooks, or are they something that only our people that have moved to Canada can achieve? Is it something that is available here?
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be at your midst this afternoon. I'm from Jubilee Life Mortgage Bank, PSC. I'm one of the branch head in Jubilee, and some of my colleagues are here. Florence Gideon, who happens to be the head of sales and receivables, while I also have Regina, who is also here, head of NHF and recovery. So thank you all for being here with me. God bless you. So really, there is a saying that I always refer to people who are very close to me. If you can pay the rent, you can own a home. If you can pay the rent, you can own a home. So it is not only overs that we do mortgages. We do it here in Nigeria. It is only when you are ready to have information about mortgage bank, which I'm going to take you through. Now, I'm going to discuss about mortgage financing for personal acquisition. So before, as an individual, you might look at it that mortgage is meant for people who are up there. No, it is meant for those lower class, middle class, and upper class there. So how do middle class and lower class key into it? They can key it into it through two ways of either internal mortgage or external mortgage. When you talk about internal mortgage, you buy a property from a company, or for instance, I'm going to be referring to my company, more of my company. You buy a property which Jubilee Life built, and then you needed them to finance it. The only thing that you will do is for you to just provide 30% equity of that total amount. Take, for instance, now, 2 million. Look, calculate 30% of 2 million. You can see it's very, very small. That's 600,000. And at the same time, you will say, I don't have that 600,000. There is a way that you can build your capital by opening an account and also build your capital in the space of maybe a year. And you have access to this mortgage facility. And when we talk about external mortgage External mortgage is what you see outside. I see this building and I love it, but I don't have the money. How do I go about it? You approach a mortgage bank. You approach Jubilee Life Mortgage Bank. Jubilee Life Mortgage Bank will only ask you that property that you want to buy, does it have a good title? We are going to do our own background check, whether actually those people that are selling it are not fraudsters, or whether does it have a genuine document on it. And if they have a genuine document, the only thing you will do for us is to provide with 30% equity, and the house is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You know, it's not easy to capture the concept in a very brief way like she did. I can remember when I was in school and I was studying mortgages. I know it took me it took me quite a number of weeks to cover the entire topic and understand the legal framework that is around it. But she'll have more opportunities to tell us more about it and how we can access it and take advantage of it. She's mentioned something about 30% equity, and then you can, you've already started on your journey of owning a home. And I like what she said. If you can pay the rent, you can own a home. So stay tuned. I'm sure she has more in store for us. So I'm going to come back to you. I'm struggling with this, OJ, right? You did mention that there are a lot of opportunities. Quite frankly, you wowed my mind when you told me with 15K, right? Because, well, let me leave that reason aside. Yeah, so please, I'd like you to throw more light on it. What are those, specific ways we can get into real estate with small money? Because, earlier today, one of the speakers made what I think is a joke. He said that there are no small players, in Lekki when it comes to real estate. And here you are, you're telling us that, you started off with really small capital and that everybody can be a player. And I'm sure everybody's interested in hearing the opportunities that are available for us. So please take us on that. Thank you.
Thank you once more. Thank you. There may be no small player in real estate, but truly, there are many small starters. There are so many people that start small in real estate. What happens a lot of times is that people see money in the size. They don't see it in the value it can become. If we can change the way we see money, we can actually understand that there is nothing that is not possible. I want to start with P1. And by the time, please let me correct what I was hearing. At the time that profile was written, there were just about 12 affiliate companies in the P1 group. Right now, we have over 40 affiliate companies in the P1 group. Yeah, there are over 40. What it means is that I lead a team of over 40 managing directors. I'm not, the group is over 40, and we just finished an affiliate mentorship program. In the next 1 year, we should be onboarding over 120 managing directors in the P1 group. All of us doing the same thing, playing in different levels, and seeing work to do in that same field. So what does that tell you? That there's a lot of opportunities in the real estate industry. When we started real estate 10 years ago, we were 10 years ago, we had squatted in 13 homes in 2.5 years. Our business failed. We had no money to pay rent. We were moving from house to house in those 2.5 years. And in that 2.5 years, we lived in 13 different places. So at the time we started, there was no money. So I can say we practically started with no money. You understand? But there is a capital that every human being has. Okay, let me even talk about two capital that every human being has. One is integrity. The other one is time. Everybody has time. And there are also other things that go with those things. You have your mouth, you have your brain, you have, even if you don't know how to speak English, you can talk. Even if it's in broken English, even if it's in your native English. So what it means is that you have something of value you can bring to any environment. You understand? If you can talk to somebody, you already have capital to start a business. Did you hear me? If you can talk to somebody. Because all we did was to scrap money up, we printed flyers, and we went on our legs on the road, sharing those flyers. And on the 1st of May 2012, we had our first inspection. There was no money to rent a vehicle for the inspection. But we chartered the vehicle without paying. I went for the inspection and came back and started looking for money to pay the bus driver. And on the 2nd of May 2012, 10 years today, we made our first sales and the money was 60,000 naira. Somebody actually paid 60,000 naira into our account and business started. You understand? What that means is that if one person can buy, several others can buy. What you need to discover is the conversion rate for your business. How many people do you have to talk to get one person to say yes? The same thing we do in Christianity. We do evangelism, we distribute so many flyers, we talk to so many flyers, and maybe one person says, please, I want to give my life to Christ. So how many people do you have to talk to get one person to say yes? And how far are you ready to go? So those are just the things. But apart from that also, we have several opportunities in our company, in our group, that anybody can start with. We have so many real estate companies today where you can go and start trading, where you can go and start working with them as independent, and then grow money and begin to grow business. Many of them even sign people off for free. But in PUA, we don't sign people off for free. We believe that it must cost you something, because I know that everybody has at least something to start with. Everybody. You understand? I was talking to a lady one day who came to meet me, and she needed money to sign up. In PUA, you can sign up with 1,650. And she had eyelash on her eyes, and she had hair like this. And I said, you don't have 1,650. She said, Mama, well, most people call me Mama. You won't believe it, I don't have any money. I said, no, you have. It's just that your values are not yet well, yes. You've not valued yourself properly. Because the eyelash in your eye, you will pay less than 5,000 naira to fix it. So you can afford 1,650. When I do training, there's a little movie I used to show people. It's called What the Rich Buy on Payday. I don't know if anybody here has watched it. Very small, about 15 minutes. About 8 minutes, it's not up to 10 minutes. And in that movie, the man was talking about what the rich buy on payday, and what the poor buy on payday, and what the middle class buy on payday. And he said the poor, let me start with the poor. The poor people on payday buy stuff. Everybody has money. I remember when we first started making money in P1, I will go abroad, I will carry 3 boxes. By the time I get into the aircraft, I'm exhausted, completely exhausted. After all the shopping, I come back to Nigeria, I have a lot of junk in my box. It's money, right? A whole lot of us have junks like that in our homes. We are passing a shop that doing sales, we enter. It's very cheap, we buy. You understand? Friends bring things to us to buy in the house. The price is reasonable, you buy. Whether you need them or not, all those are monies that you can use to start any business. You understand? That's what the poor buy on payday. So you get into their homes, everywhere is filled with junk that they don't need, that they can't use. They just litter the whole environment. And then coming to the middle class, what do the middle class buy on payday? They buy liabilities. They can't afford a big car, they take loan, they buy. Because they have a job that allows them to get loan. So they will take loan, they will buy a car that cannot even afford to maintain. And they're living on a stress level every day. When it's summertime, and summer is approaching now, Madam is already asking them, where are you people going to this summer? God will borrow money to take children on summer. They can't afford it. Those are all the money that can be used in real estate. But we look at the rich. What do they buy on payday? They buy businesses. They do investment. They start with small amount of money. When that money multiplies, they take money from there. They start another thing. That won't grow. They take money from there. They start another thing. And before you know it, they have a chain of businesses. They have a chain of businesses. Because it's not because they had a lot of money, but because they understood that when you multiply money and you keep it, and you add money to it, it keeps growing. And then you can do several things. So I believe strongly that everybody, I said it before, I say it again, everybody has money they can start trading in real estate. When I came to Ajah neighborhood for the first time, I ran into a receipt that somebody used to buy property in Abidjan area. It was 25,000 naira a plot. Even at the time they bought that property, some women were already buying bags at 250,000 and more, but they bought that property. Today, that same property is not selling for anything less than 25 million. So it just depends on what you consider valuable today and how long you are prepared to wait to add more value to that thing next time. So there is money. In P1, you can start with, you can become a player in real estate with a registration of 1,650. And you don't want to be a player, you don't want to come and sell, you don't want to go on the road distributing flyers, you don't want to go on the road talking to people. You can start an investment with as little as 15,000 naira. It might interest you to know that that money kept over a period of time can become a whole lot of money. I don't want to go into any investment thing. I don't want anybody to come and say, I said. No. You can always, I think my people are outside there, you can learn more afterwards. But in this forum, sitting here, I'm not here to market anybody. I don't want to say anything about what money can become. That's not what I came to do. If I'm able to leave everybody here with that message, that you can start trading real estate today with anything you have, with any little money you have, I would have succeeded in this session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so I'll move to you, sir. And from your profile, I understand that you've been a litigator before, and I believe that you have a package, because you explained to us that the laws regarding to property are quite, it's complex. So I believe you prepared a simplified version for us. I'm going to let you just talk to that in the next few minutes.
Yeah. So property law deals with, there's a law for basically every aspect of the transaction relating to property. There's a law. Whether you are building regulations will catch you. Whether you are buying your title, a law will catch you. Whether you are borrowing mortgage, there's a law that deals with it. Whether you are doing joint ventures, you are doing building leases, you are doing development leases, there's basically a law that will deal with every aspect. So maybe I will just pick a few of them because we cannot exhaust them. The primary one is the Constitution. The Constitution gives us right to own property. And in respect of immovable property, which we are dealing with, to own property anywhere in Nigeria, you can buy. The only people that cannot own as of right are foreigners, because there's a law that prohibits aliens, foreigners, from buying landed properties. They can rent a year, 2, 5 years, but once it goes beyond 5 years, every foreigner needs the consent of the governor to buy any land or any landed property. And even at that, the interest cannot be beyond 25 years. Cannot be beyond 25 years. A foreigner, otherwise they will soon pack us out and own this country. And our people who have sold our brothers and sisters as slaves, they are ready to sell us and remove us from the land. So there's a law that limits foreigners from buying land. You know, I think it's called the Acquisition of Lands by Aliens Law in Lagos State. That is one. You have the Land Use Act, which has made it easier. Basically, that law is to make it easier for government to acquire land without paying the communities and the families. So all land now belongs to the governor of each state in trust for the people. It is essentially to enable government to acquire land without paying for it, because when the government acquires land, they don't pay for the land anymore. They pay for the improvements on the land. So if you have built a house, they can pay and pull down the house. If you have built a fence, if you have used it, you have crops, they can pay for the crops. They will do all of those. If you have sand-filled it, anything that is an improvement, they will compute it and pay to you. But government will not pay you for the land again if it is empty. So that was primarily to help government get land, and also to make land administration easier and more predictable. So every land transaction, you must go back to the governor, get governor's consent, and then it is registered, and all of that. You have the Land Instruments Registration Law, which tells you the type of documents you must prepare for it to be recognized, and registered and consented to. Before, we didn't have documentation that were explicit enough, and you cannot buy land with mouth, with word of mouth, say I own it. Maybe in the past, by the time you bring all your great-grandfathers and do the history, they can, but today it will not work like that. So interest in land must be documented, evidenced by at least a memorandum. The Land Instruments Registration Law deals with that. There's a whole lot. There's a law, the Illiterates Protection Law, that protects illiterates in land transactions. So if an illiterate signs a document or puts a thumbprint, tomorrow he comes and says he did not sell you land, his word is better against your own, unless there's a particular format that document is prepared, and it's called illiterate jurat. If it is not there, the man will collect your money and still take the land. You have not done well. So there are various laws, and I do not know to what extent, I can go. But when the best thing to do really is to have a lawyer engaged from the beginning, not when the problem arises. And the best time to engage a lawyer is when you are doing your due diligence, because the lawyer will check out the documentation. If there's no documentation, he will check out the history. He will he'll go to the lands registry. In some cases, he may need to even go to the courts. I think Lagos State today is beginning to develop a litigation charge registry, because if you go to the land registry in Alausa, you won't know if there's a case on the land, except the parties in the case have filed a caveat. They have entered a caveat to the title, or they have done a newspaper publication, or they have written something on the land. This land is subject to litigation. It is being challenged in this suit number. If you don't have those things, you can easily buy wahala. So you need a lawyer to, at the very beginning, to help you do these checks and balances. Why? And I've said so before. Land is not tomatoes. You cannot buy it and put it in your pocket and carry it home and say, nobody can take it from me. No. If you are buying land, actually, the only thing you are buying is paper. And I always tell people, anybody involved in land transaction is actually buying paper. In his mind, he thinks he's buying land, but it is paper he's buying. And if your paper is not correct, you don't own land. So the key types of paper, let me put it that way, is the work the surveyor does for you. If the surveyor is not good, he can carry your land and put it inside the Gogonogo market. When you carry your document, you say, no, this survey, here it is showing us, is on a Ekpe Expressway. It's not here. Surveyor, very important. And then the lawyer provides the text and the conditions. And all of these things are, of course, covered by law. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Okay, so far we've had OJ tell us that what it really needs is the willpower, to invest in real estate, And while there may be no small players, there can be small starters. So you can start small and then grow and become big. And then our barrister has told us, given us an overview. And what I really want to take home from that is that in these waters, you can't do it without a lawyer. You know, it would be very easy for us, or we would very much love to tell you, okay, this is your starter pack, or this is your toolkit, or this is your DIY. But unfortunately, the territorial waters of property transactions are not such that if you intend to really be serious and, you know, get into it, you cannot do it without a lawyer, and that there are laws for everything. And I like how he ended by saying that, you know, what you are really buying is paper. And yeah, so with this knowledge, we're going to come to our banker. And she's going to tell us more about what she said the last time. She said, if you can pay the rent, you can own the home. And that really, you know, it's really interesting. And it seems a bit less complicated. So let's hear you from you. Can you go, you know, more in depth into what you said? And then after we hear from her, I can then take questions from the audience. I just checked the app, the Slido app, to see, you can put in your questions there and I'll see them right here and I can ask them on your behalf. Or when the time is right, just reach out to any of the ushers and then they'll get a mic to you and then we'll take your questions so that this can be very, very interactive. Okay, let's hear you, Ronke.
Thank you so much. My name remains Ronke Olariwaju. Yes, if you can pay the rent, you can own the home. And you can also start with 15,000, as Madam Uji said, which is is an individual mindset. If you set your mind to get it done, you get it. So to start with, I said earlier that we have two types of mortgage, which is an internal and external mortgage. If you are going to look at internal mortgage, okay, I want to buy a property from Jubilee Life Mortgage Bank, and I want to go and I will sell it in the next 2 years or a year or 5 years. How do I go about it? The first thing for you to do is to pick up a form, walk up to their office, pick up a form, fill the form, or you go online. We are online. You pick up a form, fill the form, then you start with the 15K. You can start off something. And you build your capital gradually. And you purchase your choice property. It's all mindset. Fine, I'm living in Lekki, I'm living in Naija. How much are you paying for rent in Naija? Because I don't live in Naija. If you are paying close to 1.5, with 1.5 in a year, you can actually use that 1.5 to pay for as an equity for a mortgage. And when you are talking about external mortgage, okay, I get a property on my street. How much? 45 million. What is the 30% on 45 million? Do you have that amount with you? If you don't have, how much do you have? Okay, open an account, then go into it and contribute your 30% equity. Then you get it sorted out for you. It will just ease your stress. And you own a home, and you own a land, and you have a property of your choice. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, that explanation. There are questions, lots of questions in my mind. But I've been doing a lot of talking since the beginning. I would ask my questions. But before I go further, just to be sure that, you know, we're not just doing this amongst ourselves and then we have you in the mix, I'd like to request some questions from the audience.
So I have two questions here. I'm given to me by the audience. I think the first one is clearly directed at Barrister Sir. It says somebody wants to get this in clear detail. They want to know what these things mean. Governor's consent, deed of assignment, survey plan, global or individual C of O. They want to know what those things mean. I'm guessing they want a class, but I'm sure you can congest it to minutes each. And the second question, just so that I can answer, I'll keep collecting questions as I go around. The second question is for you, Ma. Somebody wants to know, is it just buying you do, or do you do like purchasing of properties and then renting out to people? That person wants to be clear whether that idea is part of what you cover as the mortgage bank as well. So I'm sure that one of you can have this.
Thank you. So let me start. All governments all over the world, they have a lands registry where they register, they take note of transactions in the land, in their states. And it has two functions, basically. One, it is to enable the public to know. So if I take a title document and I take it to Alausa, I want to register it as belonging to me. They open a register, and at some point, before it is finalized, they publish a gazette, they communicate it so that people know that somebody is registering an interest over this plot or parcel of land. And that is to minimize fraudulent transactions. It's to minimize it. And that is why it is important you do those checks. Because the government wants to discourage fraudulent land transactions. The other aspect that it does is to confirm ownership, which is the governor's consent. Once the governor has agreed that, okay, this land can be transferred from Mr. A to Mr. B, once the governor has agreed, then they register it. You pay your stamp duties, all your other tax assessments, and then they register it. So it's like a confirmation of title. When you talk about a global C of O, what that simply means is that government has issued a certificate, a grant, really, a grant, to someone or to a company over a large tract or parcel of land. That person now cuts it up into several plots, maybe building an estate, and begins to sell those plots. It is called a global C of O because if you buy a plot, one or two, you don't have to go and apply for another C of O for your plot. No. What you will get is the deed of assignment. Assigning a portion, that plot that you have bought, the C of O will continue to remain that of the company. And what you'll be getting is a document that covers that piece of land that you have bought. So it's called a global C of O. Now, there's a C of O and there's also a C of O. We have two types of C of Os, and people don't know it. People don't know. You have, and both of them are issued by government. But one is a government C of O. The other one is a private C of O. But they both come from government. The government C of O, there's nothing that can shake it. There's nothing. And government issues that type over land that it has acquired. So it can come to a community, discharge everybody there, pay compensation to all, pack everybody out, and own the land. And issue C of O there. That's one, there's nothing that can shake it. Then you have the other type that you apply for. You bought land 20 years ago, and you want a C of O over it. With ordinary receipt, government will give you that one. And most of the time, that is the type that end up in court, and they will tell you that you don't have firm root of title. The person will be arguing, but it is government C of O now, governor signed it. They say, yes, it was based upon your application that you are the owner of the land. The government will not go and do that verification for you. Just pay, they will give you C of O. You carry that big yellow paper and think you have good title. When the owner comes, you will discover that, I won't say governor has played you for 1 night, but it looks like you have done it yourself. So those are different types of C of O. A deed of assignment is just a transfer document that carries your title from Mr. A to Mr. B, and the governor consents to it before it is registered. Thank you. If there's any more or you want any more details, then you may need to see me in my chambers.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, back to the question that was being directed to me concerning can you purchase and rent? Yes, you can purchase and rent. You after doing the mortgage with any mortgage bank, you own the property and you are doing your repayment with the company or the mortgage bank. You can let it out and be getting money from the rent and also be using that money to liquidate your loan. So you can purchase and also at the same time you can let it out.
Thank you for that. All right, on the online platform, we have a question for you, OJ. It says, P1 has extensive coverage in Lekki. How do you successfully navigate legal issues prevalent in property and land transactions in this area?
See him after. And I intend to also see him after. Because I want people we can never do without. You understand? Let me say something. I'm an evil woman. And in evil, I will say, Amazing Babu Alog, okay? Is there anybody who heard me? Yes. Amazing Babu, you know, all the problems are there. You understand? But we deal with it on day-to-day basis. Okay, we deal with it as it comes. You know, even when that are in the business, we fall into it every day. And we deal with it. There was a property we bought in 2013, 2014, 4 plots of land. We finished payment. The person that sold it to us said the document is in his bank in Port Harcourt. We're waiting for him to bring the document. EFCC came. He has used it to borrow money, we didn't know. And the owner of the money, we paid the rent. We paid for the land, he didn't pay the person. So the person took the document to EFCC. When they invited me that year, it was my first time in EFCC, I was a little bit disorganized. And the policeman said to me, did you buy this property? I said it was about 112 million in 2013-14. He said, don't worry, you can buy this property. You are our friend, we are your friends. When we invite you, you come. You know, but it might interest you to know that without them, we wouldn't have gotten the documents for that property. Because we didn't know, we believed the guy that the documents were in the bank. You understand? So it was from that EFCC we eventually got the document. Now after getting the document, one day we were invited to the court. One person sued for 1 plot, another person sued for 2 plots, leaving us with 1. There were 4 plots. And we're still in that litigation till today. But we're still in the business. Okay, we're still doing some good ones. And then now and then we still fall into some. Like as he was talking, my ears picked. Because even 10 years after, there are several things he said now that I do not know. We're not lawyers. I will have lawyers. But you see, you take these things as they come. You take it as they come. That's why I said in the beginning, Ameji Babu Alo Ogu. We have to venture. And in the process of the venture, if anything comes up, we look for them. What is most important is you. The integrity of your heart. You that is doing the business. Our promise to all our clients is that they must have land. There have been occasions we paid for an entire expanse of land only to discover we can't take it. And then we now have to go and buy another expanse to relocate people to. You know? So the issues are there. When we write in our promotional material, there's no money, wahala. What we are saying is that you have somebody between you and your money less. But whether the wahala will be there, is always there. Okay? I'm not here to tell anybody there is no. Because if I say so, a lawyer will just take me up on that. Even as I'm leaving, when I finish now, his card will be the first one I will take. Yes. Yes.
Maybe this is a good point to...
The Bible says in the multitude of counsel, there is wisdom. So he has said certain things that I need to know more about. So I will get his card. I will also get our own. Because every time we get asked questions about mortgage. Right? Yes. Finally, there was something, I hope, is this, are we rounding up now?
Yeah, we might take about 2 more questions before we round up.
Okay, do you still have any other question for me?
I'm going to ask you when you're done to tell us, so just finish what you're saying, then I'll ask you one last question.
Okay, I was going to say something. I wanted to say it at the end of my session. When I said that with 15,000 naira, you can start a real estate investment. We have a program in P1 that by paying 15,000 naira every month, for 60 months, right? That's 5 years. We have paid only 900,000 naira. But we have a plan through which you can achieve home ownership, even with that little money. Like I said, my people are out there. You can get more information or get maybe one of the promotional materials they have and see us in the office. Many people are keying into it, and it's growing. And I know that in the next 5 years, a whole lot of people will begin to get homes, small apartments, maybe not something so big, but small apartments. And of course, everybody knows what P1 is. We are the first real estate network marketing company in the world. What that means is that we have created opportunities for consistent earning for several people. We have people who never knew they will ever do real estate. Women, men, students, who today some of them make over 450,000 naira, make over 1 million naira, some make over 2 million naira doing real estate business with us. We call them P1 business owners, and they're really doing a lot. I don't think there is any industry, any company in real estate that has the volume of people that P1 has working with them. You know, so there are opportunities you can take advantage of anytime. Thank you.
All right, so I have the next question for you, Adironke. So you talked to us, and you've made mortgage look very attractive to us. But there's this thing that usually hear when they're giving an ad on television. You hear them say terms and conditions apply. And you also hear people say, hidden charges when they're talking to bankers particularly. So could you throw some light on interest rates, you know, for these mortgages that we're talking about? Are they things that, we should be scared of, or are they affordable? Because, you know, you've given us the mindset that, you know, if you can pay the rent, you can own a home. And I like that. It's making me feel good. But I need to know that as I'm putting one leg inside, it's not deeper than I think it is. So could you tell us a bit about interest?
Thank you so much. We all know that if you start a business, definitely you need a profit to run the business and also to keep you going. So if you take a mortgage, definitely there's going to be an interest charges, which is going to be by the side. And when you talk about internal mortgage with any other mortgage bank, Jubilee Life Mortgage Bank stand out. When they said this is their charges, that is their charges. We don't have hidden charges. What we do, we will let you know from day one. After paying your equity contribution, we'll do a repayment schedule for you, what you're going to be paying every month, and the interest charges there is 20%. And the 20% is on a reducing balance, not annuity. Why some other things that people don't look at, they will tell you that 10%, they will tell you 9%. But meanwhile, it is on annuity, which means that you are paying more. But when you are doing reducing balance, it's going to be a very low interest. So on the external mortgage, you are buying outside and you want us to finance it. That is on a 30%. But 30% on, you can still come down. We can still come down when you talk to us whether, that 30% is too much, can I do this, can I do that? We'll look at it, we juxtapose it and see whether we can actually come to your rate. But we can't go low as 20%. No, we can do 25.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that explanation. I have a question here on the platform. Just give me a moment. It's okay. So it says, and it isn't directed to anybody, and the person is anonymous. It says, how safe is it to buy lands from areas with village excision? So I'm just going to allow any of our panelists take a stab at this. The question is, how safe is it to buy lands from areas with village excision?
I think it is very safe. In fact, there are two sources of land acquisition that are maybe three, that are very, very safe. And those areas have to do with any land that government has put its hands. Any land that government has what? Put its hands. When government takes over land and then returns a portion back to a community, the fact that it has gone through government process and then returned back to a community, that community, one way or the other, has gained something, recognition, that government took this land from us and brought it back to us. You can't go wrong if you buy from such areas, as long as you confirm that the areas that they are selling to you fall within the excision. Because you also find that they will sell beyond the area that has been returned to them and say it is inside. So that is why you will need a surveyor to do those checks. Once they do those checks and confirm for you that that parcel falls within the excised areas returned to the community, it's a good buy. It's a good buy. The other area where a lot of people key into is court cases. We don't like lawyers, we don't like court cases. But actually, there are certain companies and people, they focus only on land that has been litigated. The land has gone through court. People have fought over it. When you win, or when there's a court auction, those are the types of lands they buy. Because they say, look, the lightning does not strike on the same spot twice. So and lands like that are cheap to buy. So they go to these areas. Because it has gone through a government process. The litigation and court is another government process. So there are some people who just key there. This matter has gone to court. They have fought over it. It has gone to the Supreme Court. That's what I want to buy. Or there's an auction. So land that has government finger one way or the other, whether it is acquisition, excision, or inside court, it's an excellent buy. There are others who focus on first sales, mortgages. There are some people, that's what they do. They just wait for a loan to go bad, and they buy it off the bank. Buy the security of the bank. That's all they do, because they know that before a bank will take any property as security, they have done all the checks. They have all the papers, everything. And because it is a first sale, it's not a market sale, it always makes a good returns. So there are various ways you can position yourself along the chain.
Okay, we have a follow-up question on that. There are two questions. I'm going to summarize them into one. They're talking about gazetted properties, right? And I'll take one of the questions which summarizes both of them. It says there's a lot of talk about gazettes as titles to property around the Lekki corridors. Can gazettes be good routes of title when considering a property purchase? I'd like you to just quickly give us an answer to that.
I thought I had already answered that. Government acquires land. Part of the process of acquisition is that they must gazette it. So a gazette is just an official communication to the whole world that government has taken over these parcels of land. So it cannot be root of title unless after the Gazette has been published, communities will agitate. You cannot take all our land. Give us some. Where do you want us to stay? You have impoverished the family. They will now do excisions and cut out portions back. You know, so title cannot flow from Gazette, because what it means that that Gazette is telling you it is now government land. But it can flow from the parts that have been returned back, you know, to the communities.
Thank you very much. They say time flies when you're having fun, and we've actually run out of time. So I'm just going to have our panelists give us, you know, one word before they go. So they're just going to tell us one thing that they want us to go home with. So I'll start with OJ, and then I'll move my way all the way down here. So just tell us one if there's anything that we should not forget in all you have said today, just tell that to us, and then we'll take that home. Thank you.
Sorry, we can't hear.
Yeah, I said thank you so very much for having me. And I want to leave you by saying whatsoever you have, start trading real estate today. You are welcome to P1 Group anytime. We have several offices along the corridor all over Nigeria. We're actually in the 36 states of Nigeria now. And we're also in Abuja. And we're ready to help you get started. We're also ready to train you, guide you until you become successful. Like we say in P1, we say that to invest in property is good. To invest in people is better. So we want you to give us an opportunity to invest in you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
If there's anything that I'd like us to remember, it is what I have said before, and I'll repeat it. If you are buying land, what are you buying? You are buying paper. Don't think you are buying land. So your paper, be sure, is top-notch, is correct.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Let's hear you.
Thank you so much. I will leave us with, if you can pay for the rent, you own a home. If you can pay for the rent, you own a home. And if you have any issue concerning mortgage, the first thing that should drop in your mind, Jubilee Life Mortgage Bank. Just walk up to us. We have been in existence for over 2 decades, and we have done a lot of things in the past, and at present, we are still going on. Currently, we have some projects going on in Alaba. We are coming up with Alaba Shopping Mall. We are also coming up with some projects in Abuja, in Port Harcourt, Calabar, Ibadan, just name it. If you have friends outside the country and they needed to purchase property, they can just Google us and then get it done. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, it has been so much fun. Honestly, I wouldn't want to stand up from here. This is also an opportunity for me to let you know that I'm also a legal practitioner. And I had to remove my legal practitioner's hat to wear a moderator's hat so that I don't answer all the questions for, you know, our panelists. And thank you so much for your time. I had so much fun listening to each and every one of you, and I look forward to us collaborating in future. Thank you so much. And to everyone, that wraps it up for the second panel. Thank you for being a wonderful audience. Oh, a group photo? All right, so we'll be taking a group photo. If we can have the head of the planning committee join us as well, that would be nice. If he's not too busy. All right, thank you very much. I'm going to hand over to my co-MC, OJ, and he'll take it over from here.
Thank you very much, Akemi. Please, a round of applause for our speakers again. This was an amazing session. If you know you learned something from the Roundtable Lekki, please put your hands together. Some of us are not clapping. Are we tired? I'm sure we learned one thing. And if you know you are going to network with somebody when this program is over, with the information you have now, put your hands together for yourself. Okay. So I'm expecting a lot of conversations once we are done with this. So again, we'd like to thank you for joining us. This is the Roundtable Lekki, and it's packaged by CGMI Garden City. Please make sure that you meet with somebody at the end of this program, get a contact, start your journey today, because if there's one thing that we want to happen from this, as the convener said at the beginning, as a young person who is trying to build a fortune, if I should say that, please, this is a chance for you to start small. As Mama has said, you can start with as little as 15,000 naira, and if you go 15,000, mortgage everything, you begin to see things grow. So before we have our final comments, I would like to call on one of our sponsors and partners for this event, Extreme Mind Solutions, to give us a brief talk for 5 minutes.
Like the uncle said, time flies when you're having fun. This will be very short. My name is John Obasi, CEO of XM's solution, Extreme Mind Solutions. I like not to think that we are a marketing agency. I would say we are more of a solutions agency. And what that means is that different businesses, even within the same space, have very peculiar things. And when you talk about marketing, they are somewhat very different, if you know what I mean. So like he said, like everybody has said, like all the wonderful speakers who's come up before me, and all what they have said is how you can start and how you can start now. What I would do, beyond just an introduction of what the business does or what the agency does, is how you can also integrate marketing in a way and manner that not only fits your budget, but is effective. You can achieve what you want to achieve right now. So I'll go on to my slides. I'll go on to the second slide. People say, oh, faith is important, hope is important. But then again, when it comes to business, it's important you have a plan. And that's what we'll look at. So hope is not a strategy, and that's the important thing. It's important we take our time to put things down. Somebody once said, an idea in your head doesn't belong to you. An idea you can hold on paper, or like the lawyer, good lawyer said, once you have the title and the deeds to that, then that is a property you can own. So that's important for us. There's a lot of things we'll look at. If you look out there, everybody's doing one form of marketing or the other. And why is that relevant? Many of us haven't walked into the big offices of the P1 and Adron Homes or the Revolution Plus, but we see them. That means that the marketing that these people have invested in is effective. That being said, that's what we're looking at today. Taking our time to be strategic about the steps that we'll make. Whether we're just starting out, or like the uncle called it, small starters, or whether we're big players, marketing is critical to what we do. And that's exactly what we're looking at. There's too much noise out there, too much clutter. Everybody's selling something. Everybody's saying something. How can you be effective? What channels can you use in marketing to have that effect and create the necessary buzz that you need to? And that's what I need to talk about today. The three things that I'll go to is, first off, having a purpose for what we want, whether you're playing with the big boys up there, somewhere in the middle, or a small starter. It's important you define your purpose for why you've even come into the real estate business. It's also important, and that speaks to why. The second reason is having a defined direction for what you want to do. Why is that important? It's because at some point you will see challenges. At some point you will have hurdles to surmount, or to go over, or to go underneath it. Whatever it is, it's important that you understand the how, the who's involved, the where, and most importantly, the when. How do you go about this thing? How can you use what you currently have to do just that? And lastly, how do you measure when you are there? How do you measure when you've ticked all the boxes and achieved what you want to achieve? What kind of solutions is good for you, and how do you want to use it? So with that being said, that's where we come into at Extreme Mind Solutions. We look at the ways that suit your business and suit how you want to achieve and get out there. Whether it is from defining your brand stage, please go on. Whether it's from a branding perspective, how do you create the right brand that people will embrace? People just need to see P1's logo out there, and they know what it stands for. Credibility. A decade of being consistent, of trust. That is something anybody wants to embrace. Now, that's the power of a consistent brand. And that's the kind of, that's what we want, that's what we stand for at XM. There's also impacting with how you use digital media. You could spend a small fortune like the Jumias, or you could spend something pocket-friendly like the smaller brands and still do so much work done. Whether you're an individual or whether you're a small entrepreneur with a team, whatever it is, we can achieve so much. There's also how we use digital media, social media, and then project management, how we take feedback and use that feedback to our advantage. Like I said, this was supposed to just be a short introduction about the agency and what we do as a team of extreme individuals who are bringing something to the table to help and to support businesses in whatever capacity. So I'll stop about here so that I don't drag this. I've been queued for the next speaker to come up. Once again, thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for being part of this event.
Round of applause for Extreme Mind Solutions. We're happy to have partnered with you for this event in Roundtable Lekki. It's been an amazing time, and I'm sure a lot of us are itching to meet people. A lot of us have packed our cards. You have the cards in hand now to give to people and have discussions. Please, let's make sure that we maintain the quorum of people's space. So let's not try to crowd some people, and let's make this very cordial based on the fact that we're in Lekki Peninsula. Let's make this Lekki-ish in our conversation. If you can add your accent, just, add something on top. But thank you for being part of this program. It's been an amazing time. And to round us off, as we had at the beginning with the opening remarks, we call again the convener of the Roundtable Lekki and senior pastor of CGMI Garden City, Reverend Chris Ubamadu, to give us closing remarks.
Thank you very much. I'm so happy that we were able to stay this long. I want to thank every one of you who found the time to be here today. Like we said at the beginning of the program, for us, success is not just that this program held today. Success is the feedback that comes after now. Success is that business that you start after this. Success is your income that increases after today. Success is the network that you build from this platform. Success is the revenue that comes to your business and the growth that you experience. So I want to thank you once again for being with us. Most in-depthly, I want to thank our facilitators and speakers. Thank you, madam. We're so grateful that you are here. Dr. Jane, thank you. Mrs. Aderunke, thank you so much. And Mr. Precious Okoje, thank you also. And then for all our other speakers who have taken their leave for one thing or the other, we are also grateful for your time and the resources that you put into this. I also want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank the P1 Group. They're also one of our sponsors. Our partners, Extreme Minds. Thank you. Woo Events and more. Thank you. Above Only Creatives, Proclaim Media, Tony OJ Studios. Thank you, every one of you who supported this event by one way or the other. May God bless you and increase your business in Jesus' name. Amen. And what do we say to Church of God Mission Garden City? Yes, we love you. Thank you so much. Can we all rise now? And I would like to just say a closing prayer as we take our leave and network with one another. There are some booths outside. There are some things you can buy. The book by Mr. Hakim is also available. You can still pick up some copies now. Father, we thank you for helping us today. We thank you for the information that we have shared and received. We thank you for the things that we want to do with them. Lord, we ask you for the grace and the discipline to be tenacious. Help us not to lose hope. Help us not to lose sight. Help us to make venture. Help us to add that action that is needed to help us to actualize. Father, we honor you today, and we ask as we leave this place, let your presence continue to go with us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I also thank all our ministers. Thank you so much. I appreciate all our pastors from our different branches. God bless you. God bless you. Our senior ministers, elders, and deacons and deaconesses, thank you all. Have a beautiful afternoon, and God bless you. Thank you, ma'am.